Hello, and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed, and we are in the book that bangs the most and the hardest. Socrates and Jesus, a dialogue in heaven. Why does it bang so much? Well, it is outlining for us the several things. Let me turn my music down a little bit. Helping us to understand what the meaning of life is. Oh my God. I thought that you can't know the meaning of life, or it was whatever you want it to be. Surely there is not an understandable, provable, demonstratable purpose for our soul's existence in this reincarnation. Surely. Or if there it is, then how will we learn it? Easy, read this book. But also we have been learning a new way of reading. This is not the way that you're taught at school, where reading becomes interpreting your own beliefs. What do you feel this book means? Or saying things like, to me, Lord of the Rings is about Jesus being in my heart. That's interpretation. So we're learning to read without interpretation and see and understand without interpretation. What's interpretation? Adding what's not there, thumbs up, or leaving out what is there. And so how are we doing that? Well, first of all, we have to be reading something that reflects the logos or the truth of reality. And we have to have a question in our hearts. Why are you reading this? What do you want to do? Do you want to remove your problems, or do you want to reach a high goal? Whether it be being yourself, knowing the self, escaping the cycle of reincarnation, experiencing the highest dimensions of your mind or consciousness or reality, knowing the self and showing the self, or again, removing any of the problems or blocks that you face and suffering you experience as you reach for that excellence. So there has to be something like that in your heart that motivates you to, live. And that's what we're doing here. We're learning how to reach that excellence and find the root causes for our suffering, or why our soul pursues pseudo-excellence. So, 2 fundamental activities: reaching truth and removing the false, developing understanding, purifying ourselves from the false beliefs we carry that cause our problems. 2 activities that you can say a lot of different ways: reaching your highest goal or destiny, and escaping the cycle of fate. Knowing the self, removing your false image of the self that causes your blocks. So, those are the 2 fundamental things humans are interested in, and the 2 fundamental things we do as human beings. And this book helps us to see that for ourselves and gives us the material that we can apply ourselves to actually do those things. Hooray. That's why the book bangs the most. Bangs so hard that your grandchildren will have CTE. That's the brain damage that MMA fighters get and football players get because they hit themselves in the head so much. That's a funny joke that I say here. There we go. So, interesting, because what we're also doing is recognizing that this movement to our purpose or destiny or meaning of life involves a progression through stages. So we're also the same method of understanding or system or paradigm of understanding itself you can apply to recognizing different cognitive stages of development we go through. We also can use this exact same model or map or paradigm to map out different cultures in human history. We can understand ourselves, our own development, but we can also understand the development of human beings through different cultures or epochs or times in history. Isn't that neat? I think it's neat. Wow. So, what are those stages of development? Well, so far we have 5 on the table. The first one being the highest, that's our ultimate goal, to know the self, which brings with it a lot of puzzles, because while you can have various different experiences that you can awaken to through Awakening Philosophy, the name of that channel. Hooray.
I'm cute. Like, it's do a poggers.
Do a poggers. You can awaken to various different experiences and levels of understanding. awakening different cognitive functions that allow you to apprehend different states of being and levels of functioning, there is still somebody doing the thing, having the experience, doing the development, in which case we have to ask the question, how do you know the self if the self is the agent? In other words, if there is an experience of knowing, there has to be something doing the knowing. What the heck is that? And if it's the one doing the knowing, it can't itself be an object of knowing. So that's the big question. How do you know the self if it transcends knowing? The second highest stage of cognitive functioning, or how we make sense of the world, or how we experience things, is knowing, nous, which is apprehending the realm of being. And here we have a picture on the board. There we go. So the self, or the one self, or the good self, independent and transcending everything else, that's the self we're after. But that reflects into the second stage of being, knowing, or nous. Nous is the Greek word. And when we use the English word, we give it a capital K to signify. We don't mean knowing how to ride a bike. We mean knowing yourself as the ultimate nature of reality. The study of that is metaphysics. It's beauty, it's justice, it's whole and part together, same and different together, like and unlike together. So those are the single terms: beauty itself, justice itself, goodness itself. And those are also the pairs of terms. I hope my audio is better today. I've been messing with it all day yesterday. The pairs of terms that come together, the self-logos pairs, whole and part, same and different, those are essential because they allow us to understand how these different cognitive functions function. And then there's the triad that we've got on the table, 1, 2, 3, or lesser, greater, whole. That's needed for analogy, in particular the mean analogy. So you can even see these stages of development if we go up, or the level of unfolding of reality if you go down, as its own mean analogy. And of course the mathematical equation for this particular mean analogy is the golden mean analogy, or phi, like that, which is a golden mean analogy, which is used, if you're into art, you might learn that you use this, it's a little under a third. So if you want to put a person in frame, you start by learning the rules of 3, so you can divide it into a third. So you have the person's face here, but actually it's not a third. It's a little bit more like this. Just under. 61.8%. Now why are we talking about that? Because this phi is not a integer, isn't a 1, 2, 3, 4 thing. In other words, it signifies a different kind of thing. In other words, the kind of functioning you do here is not commensurate, is not the same with the kind of cognitive function here. That doesn't fit into a simple fraction. That's what we call an irrational number, or a, well, in this particular case, the golden ratio. In other words, as we can learn and develop, there'll come a point where we have to jump. Let go of the old way of being and embrace a new way of being. For instance, well, every stage that what we're defining now will include a kind of a jump. Now we've got the first on the table, the second, and the third is the ideal functioning in the physical world, understanding. Understanding follows the intelligible pattern of reality, the self-logos. So we could say it's a reflection of being, because everything that you use in your thinking is a whole or a part. You can think of things as the same as things, or different, like and unlike. In other words, all of the aspects of this brilliant light of pure consciousness or pure being, all of its aspects that we study as metaphysics, that we personify in mythology, and the personification of metaphysical principles is true theology. It's not a literal Zeus kissing Aphrodite. It's the personification of these principles. That's theology, metaphysics, and what mythology is. But also, so these aspects that we mythologize, we also use in time with understanding. So we experience it all once, and that experience of oneness, the brilliant light of being that we all experience when we drop dead, which means our activity of the dialectic is to drop dead before we finally drop dead. In other words, separate our soul from the body, which is dying, so we can have a look around. That's awakening our sense of ousia, the sixth sense called ousia, which means to turn around and see yourself. So in the same way we turn around and see ourselves in this second highest cognitive function of knowing, so too are we like that. That's one of those terms, like and unlike. We are like that when we engage in understanding, because we are using understanding to turn around and reflect on ourselves, either our false beliefs or the true nature of self and mind. So we're being like ousia, and we're also being like being in its logos, its understandable aspects, because as we just said, understanding follows the parts and structure of this. Everything that you've thought about and experienced has been a whole or a part, or both. Same as something and different than something. Like something but unlike something. At rest or in motion. And everything that you seek through your functioning in the physical world is beauty, or justice, or goodness, or excellence. So those are the single terms. In other words, if you pursue your soul's desire properly, you will eventually end up here. Our soul seeks knowing. And we get that through being like knowing. That's the dialectic, that's understanding. So the self and knowing and understanding is 1, 2, and 3. We also have the fourth cognitive function, which is a kind of, as we've just said, as being is reflected or created into understanding, human beings create their own. We are creators. We create the pathologos, the sick logos, not the self-logos, the sick logos. That's our beliefs. Notice that people's beliefs are stupid, racist beliefs, sexist beliefs, every other religious belief other than your own, because your beliefs are special. Of course, if you have integrity, you realize that even your own family and religious beliefs are wrong. That's because beliefs are not about truth. It's about, see, the self logos. It's not focusing on the self. It's focusing on another, a leader. And the beliefs allow you a role within the family clan. I'm a good Jew. I'm a good Christian. I'm a good Anderson. I'm a good Smith. So long as I accept this role from dear leader, never challenge the family way of being, sacrifice my self-goals for this family clan identity. So that's the cause of every human problem, so we can understand the cause of human problems, which is that fourth cognitive function, belief. It's not on the board, but we could do another one down here for belief. Belief from our family clan. And that's our individual problems, but our collective problems is nothing other than when you have a political leader or a religious leader, again, two professions that don't have to have any understanding at all, have any knowledge of the whole at all, or have any understanding of the meaning of life to know the self at all. Instead, they say, I believe in Jeebus, I believe in Moses, I believe in Judaism, I believe in capitalism, I believe in being racist. So political leaders and religious leaders just take their personal beliefs and sanctify them either through laws or through God says so. And if they reflect our own personal pathologos enough, then they will get the support of the many. So that's the cause of fascism and tyranny and oppression and sexism and slavery and inequality. All of the suffering that we experience collectively is done through religious belief and political belief. because again, belief is the cause of problems. So individually and collectively. Now there's a fifth one on the table, so we can do a number 5 underneath here. So when you leave belief, but you don't address the issues of belief, because belief is in opposition to 1, 2, and 3. If you understand something, you don't have to believe Trump or leader or Netanyahu or your minister or pastor or imam or rabbi. You can see it for yourself. Equally so, if you have knowledge of the divine, you don't have to believe in religion. And of course, that not only is this knowledge of the divine, it's can be understood as perfectly ordered and the evolution of all life, in other words, the model of justice. So you don't have to believe in this or that politician if you know justice or know the divine. And of course, no one has to tell you, you don't have to believe anyone to know that you are self. That's the most obvious thing. You can't be an object of belief. Now it's interesting, not only can it not be an object of belief, it can't even be an object of knowledge, because it's the self that has knowledge and functions ideally through understanding. Now those 3 ideal functionings we can personify as the hero Hercules. The Hercules has recognized himself and is feasting with the gods in heaven, being, while also being able to heroically deal with the shadows in the house of Hades. So there's no real hell or Hades, there's no real heaven, it's a state of mind of being and the functioning of our problems playing out, our pathologos, shadows, imitations of being in the physical world. So, we can personify the ideal functioning as Hercules, and that's what we've got as mythology. Again, mythology or theology is a representation of the metaphysical principles of reality and our soul's movement through them. So, we have the hero Achilles, who's moved through these cognitive functions to become heroic like Hercules. He had to address his false beliefs through the dialectic applied to beliefs. That's called philosophical midwifery. And of course, the clues that you can get to help you in that art is dream analysis, the dialectic applied to your dreams. So Achilles went through that process. Midwifery and dream analysis, again, the single activity we here to master the dialectic, to free his problems by understanding its causes, principles, preconditions, origin, addressing it with understanding to become free of his beliefs, to develop into understanding and knowledge, and ultimately he even had problems. So even when he had a wisdom experience or brilliant light of being experience here, number 2, Achilles still had his problems. He was still angry and vengeful, and he paraded Hector's body around Troy because he was so mad at him. So still had his problems. So we had to continue to develop this after his light experience. He went back into dream analysis and midwifery to address his beliefs even further, which is needed to reach the excellence of the self. To function as the self, purely yourself, authentically the self, with a state of mind in being and a functioning of understanding in time. So those are 1, 2, 3, 4, and Achilles. And then we have a similar sort of hero on the table at the moment, Odysseus, who doesn't begin in as the worst and having to become the best. So the Achilles story shows that even the worst of us can become the best. Odysseus. So Achilles is in the Iliad, and Homer's Odyssey is like the sequel. Odysseus is somebody who starts off in a state of wisdom and then has to go on a great journey into Hades, where he sees a reflection of all of his problems play out. And when he returns home to his wife Penelope, Penelope, also as a model of a hero, a feminine Hercules, has to test Odysseus to see whether he's not only wise, but he hasn't brought any of his beliefs and problems home with him. The end of the hero's journey, you return home free of your beliefs and images of self and reality. And so she has to test him, giving us another model of a heroic archetype an ideal human being, which is even higher than Hercules, because not only does she have to have an awareness of herself, functioning authentically through herself, an understanding and experience of wisdom and knowledge to recognize it in others as well, and in understanding herself, she has to be wary of the false beliefs and the lies of men, because men seek to have sex with women and own women and oppress women and all the sort of bullshit that plays out in relationships towards women that men do. Especially seeing as women in our sexist society are considered somehow less than men. Some people even think that women are no different from cattle, maybe slightly more intelligent. Bollocks to that. So, she has to recognize these sexist beliefs and these problematic beliefs, even with otherwise intelligent or wise and rational men, so she doesn't share her life and her bed with them. In other words, she has to defeat these pathologos beliefs and recognize understanding and wisdom and knowledge, understanding and knowledge together we could call wisdom, without being able to take to the battlefield. She has to be cleverer even than the heroic men. So an even higher expression of self, being oneself, that faces even more difficulties against all odds. The ideal of the woman, Penelope. And then the fourth hero or archetype we have on the table from the book that we're reading is Palamedes, everyone's pal, because he's someone who, while achieving this, is able to challenge people. Let me get the right words from the text, which is reading, by the way. You want to get the words from the text, not projecting. So I can search for Palamedes. Confronts and turn around people who refuse to meet their destiny or purpose. So those who are not on this quest to the self in this way through the Logos, he can confront them and turn them around. That's ousia, self-reflection, and break through their defenses in an insightful, simple, dramatic ways. So cut through their defenses of their beliefs to encourage others to go on this heroic journey as well. So that's Hercules, the female Hercules, Penelope, Achilles, and Odysseus, and the fifth one, Palamedes. So there's 5. Now, we also have a 5th cognitive function that we go through. Those who recognize the irrationality or absurdity of a belief in some way, hey, my religion was bullshit, and then don't address the effects of having been raised in that religion. In other words, belief is in opposition to understanding, in opposition to knowledge, in opposition to yourself. So it's against 3, 2, 1. That's where we are in our development. As a race, we are our leaders, as we said, politicians and clergy, and parents playing the king priest of the household. Those ruled by 4, belief. As you recognize that's stupid, you might go, well, therefore there is no God, or therefore there is no soul, or therefore there is no higher understanding. There is no experience of enlightenment and eternity, and there is no ultimate self that transcends everything. There is no purpose and meaning of life. So those are conclusions that you might get when you see that, well, hang on a second, if the believers are the ones claiming to speak for the divine, claiming to speak for the meaning of life, claiming to have a principle of justice that the fascists or the right-wingers, again, there is no right-wing political party, it's simply a pathologos party, that's it. It's not actually, doesn't actually meet any of the conditions for a true political party, doesn't seek benefit of the whole, doesn't have understanding, doesn't have a model from which you can derive your understanding, so a model of the whole and understanding of the parts used to benefit the people. None of that in right-wing movements. So they lie in particular all the time and seek to harm, because belief can only do harm. So there is no actual knowing and understanding that can use to benefit through an art, so believers have to imitate knowing by inflicting the same sort of injustice they suffered when they got their beliefs from childhood. Sadism, So the reason why the billionaires and the political figures and the religious figures seek to do harm when they could be helping everyone is the principle of sadism, which is believers cosplaying knowing without knowing, cosplaying understanding, the two of which needed to be a good teacher or benefit. They can't do that, so they cosplay by inflicting harm. Therefore, they get addicted to that as what it means to be a big, strong knower. So this is all the cruelty and sadistic functioning we see these fuckheads doing to other people as soon as they have power over them. Whether they be the elites doing the shit to our children in Epstein's Island, or whether it be Trump doing it to everyone in America, especially the people who have less power, the minorities, and making use of the same fascist or belief-based functioning of the followers, which is why he appeals to Christians, even though he's not Christian, he pretends to be. That's the cause of human suffering, whether it be any of those examples, or Netanyahu getting Jewish believers to enjoy murdering Palestinian children. Notice, they enjoy it. Sadism. Bezos enjoys dehumanizing his workers. Musk enjoys being a racist, Nazi, etc., etc., etc. That's the root impulse, or the soul's seeking of belief or pseudo-excellence. Everyone has that to a degree, some more than others, of course. But everyone has it to a degree, meaning there is a moral, ethical, and theological imperative for everyone to go through philosophical midwifery and dream analysis to find our root cause of our own tyranny and purify it. Okay? So, if you grew up in, well, as we all do, there are some that leave belief and say, therefore, if these are the jerks speaking for the divine and reality, then there is no principle. That's the fifth, a massive difference. The modern Democrats. There is no principle of justice, so they're not fighting back against fascism. They are allowing the fascist believers of the right wing do disgusting cruelty. They're not fighting back against the Epstein stuff. They're not fighting back against capitalism. They're people that say, well, who's to say what's right and wrong? That's that fifth stage, a mass of difference, or strict dualists. So while believers imitate these things in cruelty and sadism, this fifth cognitive stage of development says there is no such thing. Everything is relative to opinions. Everything is belief. Hey, let's not speak up against religious belief. Let's not speak up against fascist belief. Everyone's entitled to their belief. There is no right and wrong. There are no beliefs that are bad. Everything is fine. Everything is nothing. Spineless. The spineless modern Democrats. Okay, so those are the five cognitive functions. Now, we can find examples, as we just did, for each of those stages of development, requiring us to have Socrates, or the heroes representing the good ones, 3, 2, 1, the ones that have ousia, self-focus and self-reflection, and logos, not a rejection of logos as 5, or a pathologos as 4, sick logos. While we can have these examples and archetypes, this is true for everyone, for always. In other words, what we're learning here is not about the physical world of senses. It's about every stage of development for every species in every universe, in any dimension, in any multiverse. In other words, this is the kind of learning you can take with you wherever you go. So if the only thing we can take with us in our soul's movement out of the physical world is our learning and the nurture of that learning into our nature, then this is the specific thing that we're here to learn about. In principle, because it applies universally. So whether you become an ambassador to an alien galaxy or an alien race in some planet billions of light years away, or even billions of years into the future, you can take this mastery of the dialectic and be a good person or a guide through it. Because if they've reached the stage of self-reflection, and language, they have these problems, or they can go through, therefore, this development from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, you can say that it's not really a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I mean, it can be if you start off atheist, or I reject every principle, I'm a Democrat, a modern Democrat. Therefore, you'll have to go through this. But some people start at level of belief. Anyway, it's the movement from 4 or 5 through to 3, 2, and 1. So, that's what we have on the table. Those are our 5 archetypes. Hercules, as all of them. Penelope, the female version, which is able to do that but under more difficult circumstances, having to deal with the pathologos of men, and also needing to defeat them without going into battle. So there's stories of the tests she played on her husband Odysseus to make sure that he was worthy of her life and bed. And of course she had to defeat all of the simps. Now they called them suitors back then, but today we call them simps. Oh, we're funny, aren't we?
Whore much?
Exactly.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
I apologize, Emma from the Majority Report. So those are those Hercules, Penelope, Achilles, who had to go this way, Odysseus, who starts off with wisdom, but as the archetypes of anime teach us, you can have a wise person with a problem, whether using Naruto as my example, whether it's Tsunade, who's a wise Hokage but has a gambling problem caused by her beliefs, or whether it's Jiraiya, who has a pervy problem caused by his beliefs, or whether it's the many archetypes who have a alcohol problem because of it's the same principle. So that's Odysseus going on a journey to address his false beliefs and come home to Penelope with 3 of them. Right, so that's Hercules, Penelope, Achilles, Odysseus that I was just describing then, and Palmades is someone who can wake others up creatively to this process themselves. Now, as a consequence of Socrates sharing all this fantastic, brilliant, amazing, life-changing insight to Jesus in the conversation they're having in heaven, Jesus says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to share with you the secret Gnostic Gospel of John. Now, there are 4 Gospels in the New Testament that are individual people at some stage of this development talking about Jesus, who is himself at some stage of this development. So they're not absolute truths. To think of that way is to be stupid or a barbarian, to quote the text. So each one of these gospel writers, we have to see, okay, what level of vision of reality do they have? Or, to use the expression from the book, to what extent can they endure the brilliant light of being? Okay, how well is their understanding of that? So far, they've all been pretty poor. And what is the nature of and the strength of their beliefs that prevent them from understanding and seeing? And then, of course, did they go all the way to know the self? So far we have Matthew and Luke, who copy Mark. So Mark is the main one. And Mark tells the story of someone going through a journey through Hellenic understanding. Jesus' parables reflect understanding at the beginning. Then he has a brilliant light of being experience, and then he has a talk with Moses and Elijah, who emerge from his brilliant light of being experience, and then he becomes identified in his Jewish beliefs, playing out the tragic implications of his false religious beliefs and family beliefs to his disastrous end. God, why have you forsaken me? The magically resurrecting from the dead wasn't in Mark. We know this. This is accepted among all Christians or all scholars of the Bible. The earliest texts of Mark do not have a resurrection. That was added to save the story. It didn't end in a disaster, as Mark told it. It's because magic happened and he magicked from the dead. Okay, that's not in Mark. And then we have the other person, Paul. So modern Christians quote Paul because Paul is only about beliefs. He says, God appointed me, so places himself above Jesus and lies about Jesus, and he actually murdered Christians for fun in his life. And he said, just forget this understanding nonsense. Just believe me, bro. So fascist Paul. And he wanted to create a unity of circumcised and uncircumcised within the same belief tradition. He wanted to make the world Pauline Jews. Modern Christians are Pauline Jews. That's why these evangelists only quote the letters of Paul. Okay, then we have the fourth gospel. There are four gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew and Luke copy Mark, and John has the first two sentences which talk about the logos and the self, but then very quickly devolves into his beliefs and clan identity, and then spends his time defending Paul. So those are the five dudes that talk about Jesus. Now, the church buried, and of course when Emperor Justinian instituted this in 529 AD, he murdered anyone who had a Bible. You're not supposed to think for yourself, you fuckers, says the church. And of course, just years and years of oppression. They murdered, they shut down the academy, they burnt the libraries over and over and over again. They killed the philosophers. They'd even kill Christians if they had a Bible. That's how belief functions, by the way. Let's wake up to that. And that began the Dark Ages, where everything went to shit. A period of history where everything was terrible for a long period of time, and that's our current tradition. We are in the tradition of the church, the Roman Church. That's why our schools have a preacher or a professor professing the faith in front of lecture theatres, much like an evangelist or a preacher professes the faith to his pulpit. And if you go to school, most often you don't read the texts themselves. If you study Plato, you won't read Plato, you'll read the official translations or the official interpretations. So we have to learn to read for ourselves to overcome this dark age of the Roman tradition and reawaken the Hellenic or Greek tradition. Another way of saying that is Socrates reached here. The self, we murdered him, or the state murdered him for not following the official religion. His student Plato wrote about the realm of being, but wasn't able to talk about the self because he didn't reach that level. And because he didn't have philosophical and midwifery and dream analysis to address his false beliefs. Therefore, when his student Aristotle came along, he was a materialist. He rejected the world of being and the self. So there goes all metaphysics. And because, well, in one sense, Plato should have been able to do midwifery and dream analysis with him to address his blocks, because every belief is a block to this, to reality, to the logos, to understanding. So, of course, Aristotle had a block to it. But our modern Roman tradition of education follows Aristotle. That's Stoicism, or materialism, or modern scientific thought. Aristotle. So the Aristotelian or Roman or materialist tradition is the one that we're in, meaning we have to reawaken our golden age, reclaim our mind, so to be able to address the tyranny of belief and also the apathy and the spinelessness of number 5, a massive difference. That creates the modern Democrats. Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer created the condition for the absolute worst believers to take over American politics. Very, very, very easy to see. 5 creates the condition for the tyranny of 4. 4 is in opposition to 3-2-1. 3-2-1 is where we must evolve into. If we don't, all life will cease. That's the implications. And their whole belief venerates that. We want the world to come to an end in Armageddon or the rapture, because then Jesus will come back and magic everything better again. Absolute insanity, but all it is the sanctifying or universalizing or pedestalizing or making universal belief. through religion or politics. Therefore, our purpose is to develop the dialectic to gain an understanding of this pattern of development, develop into understanding ourselves, use that understanding to reflect on our problems, to purify our problems caused by our beliefs, and also to perfect our understanding to reach a direct insight into the nature of consciousness or being, from which we get the paradigm of justice for a just world, a paradigm of beauty for beautiful creations, and of course to put the two together and reflect even on that to see that it must have a cause or self-experiencing it, so we can traverse through the gateway of pure being, escaping the chains of problems and the cycle or the prison of reincarnation to evolve to know the self in this life and in the next. In other words, we all experience the brilliant light of being to a degree based on our level of understanding and purification of our false beliefs. But if we haven't done this work, we will reincarnate again back into our ignorance and problems, and the cycle continues until we realize, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to meet Socrates in the level he is at, with better men and gods and spirits who have completed their journey, to have a better conversations than you'll find here on earth, and go on a better journey with better people. That's here. In other words, don't reincarnate back down. As you experience the brilliant light of being, smile, nod as you recognize it as the model of the logos you've been following your whole life through understanding. Smile as you recognize it as yourself, as the reflection of yourself into experience, so you can know about yourself, but realize that, hang on a second, while I can look at myself in the mirror to know about myself, I'm not my reflection. In the same way, your reflection in the mirror misses the higher qualities and aspects of yourself. Your 2D reflection in a mirror doesn't have your intelligence or will or reason or autonomy. So too is even this experience a reflection of a much higher or independent and transcendent self that has the self logos innate, but in a much higher way. That's the principle of incommensurate. That's represented as phi, or the golden ratio. In other words, every jump is a whole new level of things. So we have to keep this in mind, because now Jesus is saying, okay, that's neat that we have all this on the table. I'm going to share with you not these 4 Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Paul, the fuckhead, translations of the Bible. There in the 60s in Egypt, we discovered all these other gospels that the church buried. Jesus' twin brother, Thomas, the Gospel of James as well, and the secret Gnostic Gospel of John. I'm going to talk about that. And by the way, all of these that we've looked at so far has the same issue. Some level of insight into the brilliant light of being, or recognition that Jesus had this light experience, some level of understanding, but really, because they have not done midwifery and dream analysis, they are plagued by their beliefs. So if the tradition of Hellenism represents understanding, and if we want to use the tradition of Judaism to represent belief, we can say they are trying to Hellenize Judaism, or add patches to their beliefs while being true to their beliefs. And that's what happens when people, even now, within their, family clan identity, or religious clan identity, or political clan identity, based on beliefs and ignorance, they see the power of understanding, and instead of dropping their beliefs and going straight into understanding, they try and save their beliefs. So they develop their own little sects. So as Mamdani and AOC and Bernie Sanders are championing understanding, all of the other Democrats are taking a little bit of understanding and creating their own little groups. I like understanding. I think people should be able to afford to live. Surprise, surprise. But I still want capitalism. But I still want this fascist right wing to exist. But I still want billionaires to exist. So they're going to create their own little sects, which just creates more division, as we see with the hundreds of different religious sects that do the same. Because you've got to do 2 things. It's not just seeing the power and benefit of understanding, it's also addressing your own root, unsuspected core beliefs and family clan loyalties that you don't even know you have. You have to do two: the dialectic to the truth and the dialectic to free from the false. And of course, that's personified in Achilles and Odysseus's journey. The two needs to be recognized for Penelope as well. So that's where we're at. We're going to hear about John, and we're going to see if he has a little bit of understanding, but he's just trying to add that to his own beliefs instead of just dropping his belief like a rational person. Hellenize his Judaism. And of course, this is what interpretation is. What does the book mean to you? Well, to me, Harry Potter is about Jesus. You got to have some understanding of the book. Like, you got to show you've read the book. But again, then you just dump all your stupid ass beliefs into it. That's how we're taught to read at school. So we're learning how to read in a new way, how to see in a new way, how to think in a new way. And this very activity we're going through is therefore the meaning of life for all of us. How to learn to see or think or dialectic or understand without the influence of our beliefs. That's the meaning of life. That's the learning and nurturing we're here to do as the soul. It's the only thing that we take with us. It's what's needed to remove our suffering, and all human beings want to remove their problems. We're naturally curious about this. We want to remove our problems. We're interested in our problems. This is how to do it. We're also naturally curious about our highest happiness and excellence and states of being. So these are the two things we're naturally interested in anyway. All we're doing is reading the manual and playing the game. It's a fascinating surprise to me that there are so few people who are reading the manual and playing the game, despite the fact we're all curious about these two things. But that's where we are, and that's why I have this stream. Doing my best to be like Parmenides and challenge people to awaken to their highest purpose. And that's my life. Hooray for me. But not really hooray. I couldn't be doing anything else. It's just what seems obvious. And that's the mark of understanding. Once you see it and you see through it. Like language, once you see through your understanding, it's obvious. You don't have to think hard about what words you use in your sentence. That's what it means to be yourself. So for me, sharing this seems normal, obvious, beneficial. And of course, the people more open to it are the best people. Because I can't be friends with people who are believers, because belief is a cognitive function in opposition to goodness, beauty, truth, reason, development, and humanity itself. It's a zombie virus. So if you love understanding, you are going to be hated by believers. That's why people online who are more interested in understanding, not to the level we are here, but still love understanding, they get haters. And they're the stupidest people and the cruelest, most sadistic people. Stupidest as well. So therefore, I have to share this, not just because it's needed for humanity to save itself and remove its problems, not just because it's the good thing to do and the moral thing to do, but the people who are going to be interested in it, I can be friends with. Because whenever they start hating on understanding, I can say, hey, you've understood why that happens. Oh yeah, I understand. We can talk about it. That could be a rich insight as to why you arced up right then, why you got mad right then. And the people in this game, like when I met the author of this book, everyone who was friends with him was eager to talk with him all the time. We would meet up for reading groups in the morning, and as soon as when I was over there in California, as soon as the talk ended, it's like snap, like, can I have a talk? Can I have a talk? Can I have a talk? Everyone was eager to say, can I have a talk? Because every talk is either going to be about one of two things. Your highest goals that you're developing through reading, so you have to have your nose in a book like this. You can't be a mechanic unless you're reading a mechanical textbook. You can't be developing the logos unless you read a book that reflects the logos. The Balboa translations of Socrates, Plato, or the works of Pierre Grimes. As far as I have seen, those are the two ones that reflect the logos. Because they're two people, Socrates and Pierre, who've done this. So you're either interested in your development through that, or you're interested in removing your problems. Both, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Or you could say, well, it's actually a third thing. You could talk about your dreams. In fact, often either the talk about your excellence or your reading and your talk about your problems begins with, hey, what dream? Have you got a dream? Have you brought a dream along? Because the dreams help you with those two fundamental things, but give you a bunch of different clues about it. So you could say there are 2 things that we're only interested in, or there are 3 if you want to include dreams, which reflect both. So that's the nature of humanity and the cause of our problems and our purpose, and how we can represent that as stages of history with cultures, Judaism and the Hellenic culture, how we can represent that with individuals and archetypes like the heroes that we've been talking about, and how we can see, that these are these cognitive stages of development that all living beings who develop mind are here to go through. And none of this is an opinion. All the understanding of each of them are through universal principles: whole, part, same, different, and the single terms: beauty, justice, goodness, excellence, and the triad of lesser, greater, whole, that allows us to use analogy to represent this analogously through history, analogously with people, analogously with mythological heroes, analogously through politics and religion, and analogously through all species that develop, so that we can learn. Analogy is part of learning and understanding. So none of this is an opinion. This is all just true understanding stuff, and it's fun, and it's awesome, and it's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win. Bless you. Excuse you. That one's perfect and exactly the case.
And if Emma from the Majority Report agrees, I must be right. So that's where we are. As a quick review, it wasn't quick, but it was fun and worth doing, because again, we have to do 2 activities. We have to learn the self-logos, and then we have to reflect. Ousia and logos. Those are the 2 fundamental principles of learning. So we have to spend as much time reflecting on what we're reading as we are reading. And where's my phone? I want to adjust my lights. So, plus it's fun. It's like it's neat to talk about, rather than the latest scandal that Trump is in, right? And as fun as it is to hear about Wembenyama, because we're interested in excellence. We want to hear about Wemby because he's an excellence, or some really great person, because this excellence is a reflection of the self in some way, is a reflection of pure being and rationality. There is a wholeness of the beauty of music. There is a rational ordering of parts in the harmony of music. And there is an excellence in someone who can be themselves through that, whether it be music or sport or whatever. So we are inspired by such figures. So, but that inspiration has to be put into play. That's what we're doing here. So, let's keep reading. So before we jump in, I should probably acknowledge a couple of things. That was a big sort of rapid fire review of everything we've learned so far. If you haven't been reading along with us, that most of that might be over your head or whatever. That's okay. Take everything I've said as a hypothesis. Carry it as a possible explanation to the questions that you have. Give birth to your own questions. What do you want to answer? Number 1. Number 2, don't believe anything I say. It's a hypothesis. It's either right or it's not. And you can only see that for yourself as you continue to develop into the dialectic and understanding. You'll be able to prove why it's the case or not. And the things that are true about reality, you'll be able to verify in your own spiritual experience, or separating of the soul from the body. So in other words, don't believe anything I say, but keep an open mind, develop your own questions, and carry what I say as a hypothesis as you jump into the reading, wherever we're at or wherever you're at. Number 1. So, you can do it. I believe in you.
I'm cute. Like it's cutie pie.
I believe you're a cutie pie. No, I don't believe I have an understanding.
They're secretly turned on by it.
And I know that I understand, not belief, that you're secretly turned on by it.
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
And I'm sad for you if you don't. I don't know.
That's where you live. In the weirdo pool.
So, and second, I am aware that this probably won't reach a lot of people. I'm not mucking around. I'm just telling the truth about what's there to be seen if you read the book. Which means most people won't get it, won't be interested, which, as we've seen in the book, is the old problem. The old problem that Pierre Grimes and Socrates have faced through their life. The old problem. What's the old problem? If you want to make some teaching private, so it can earn the title of being esoteric. All you have to do is state it clearly and simply, and you will find no one gets it.
I've been a bad little girl. If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
All right. Yeah, you say it simply and no one will get it. But that's... I don't know. I am trying to work around that. I play music and I've been streaming. I have streamed the last 2 days and it has sucked. My music, I'm not used to playing through the computer with headphones on, and I'm not used to playing with a nylon guitar either. I'm used to playing live for the peeps IRL with my steel string guitar, but doesn't seem to work through the headphones. Maybe I'll figure that out. Anyway, I'm still figuring it out, but I am going to be streaming music every day just so I can get into the swing of it and work out the kinks and things. So maybe through music I'm going to be able to make this more accessible to people. Who knows? But I'm trying. That's my goal. But even though I'm just saying it simply and straightforwardly, and I'm not pulling any punches, and I know it's not going to reach many people. It takes a special kind of person to be interested in this understanding and to be open to it as well. So it takes a kind of intelligence and character. And also because I'm just talking at you, kind of, because I'm a streamer and I don't have a lot of people in chat. When I get people in chat, I talk with them. Then it's kind of like, you need another level of patience to be able to listen to and make sense of or process the things that are being said yourself. Now, hopefully you have a friend who's also interested in learning or solving problems, and you can talk with them over coffee and reflect what you've been hearing. But again, it takes a special kind of a person, and I know that that's rare. I know that that's rare because I've spent my whole life talking about this, and almost no one has shown any interest, which is wild. But I'm really grateful that I was able to run into the author of this book, someone who was interested and actually has gone through the process himself. Now, Pierre Grimes, you might be more familiar with Alan Watts. He has more popularity on the internet. But Pierre Grimes had Alan Watts as a best friend. So while Alan, of course, is more of a normie, didn't do the midwifery dream analysis and didn't get into philosophy the same way Pierre did, he was still someone interested in spirituality and liked to understand and liked to talk. So, so Pierre had Alan and other people in his life. Famously, he talked to Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Hero's Journey. He talked with the guy from Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard. He talked with the guy who created the model of psychotherapy that we're taught at university now, currently, cognitive emotive behavioral therapy, Albert Ellis. So someone in chat said he's like the Luffy of humans. he ran into these great figures along the way, the same way Luffy runs into the greatest swordsman and the greatest cook and the greatest navigator and stuff like that. And gets them to join his crew. Only Pierre didn't get him to join the crew because, again, the Pathologos is a rejection of the Logos. So the more honest and straightforward and encouraging Pierre is to people to join the Logos and get into understanding, the stronger their counter-attack will be. And that's what we're looking at in the book, the counter-attack. It is a natural principle of everyone with mind that as you move into Logos and understanding, your false beliefs will fight back. You will want to create these sects that we've been talking about. Create your new allegiances, or maybe take a bit of understanding back with you, but I'm still a Jew. I just don't like sexism. I'm still a Christian. I just don't like racism. I'm still a Muslim. I just don't like homophobia. That kind of shit. Like, just take a little bit of understanding and keep your old beliefs. That's natural. That's normal. It's bad, but it's normal. We have to recognize that as our development, and why we have to be going through midwifery and philosophy too. So that's where we are, the counterattack. And of course, as Pierre is saying to Alan Watts and Albert Ellis and L. Ron Hubbard and Joseph Campbell and all these sorts of guys, and Alan Watts, have I mentioned him twice? You guys should get into Socrates and maybe midwifery. And they did this. That's the sound of people running away. They said,
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
they said I'm sad,
That's
and they said
anti-feminist in some way.
they said it's anti-feminist in some way, and they ran away. Hey man. But he was still friends, and they got to talk and stuff. So as Pierre would say, it's not a solo quest.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
As Gandalf says to the heroes, at the beginning of their journey, they're called to adventure. The early stage of the hero's journey. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure. So, I recognize that I'm probably not going to reach a lot of people because I'm not as famous as Hassan Piker or Asmongold, and I'm not clued in with the latest dramas that is going on in the world. But my hope is that let me just turn this down a little bit. That the special kinds of rare and unique people, the Penelopes and Herculeses out there, who are able to listen and interested in listening, can take what they learn into their world and into their art and maybe communicate. So I've been in this game for a long time and doing it on my own, which kind of sucks, but there you go. Therefore, I'm kind of further from what it's like to be at the beginning. But if there are people out there who see the value in this and are learning, and they're going to be more familiar with what it takes to get into it, the sacrifices you have to make, or the openness that you need, or the courage that you need, and how scary it can be to drop your old images and beliefs. So other people are going to be more able to communicate this to the masses, to the many, to the normies, to the zombies and NPCs, because they know what it's like to make that first jump, or to learn it, or to get into it. And they're probably more clued in with pop culture, so they can, use better analogies, or as they, commentate on the goings on in politics or in popular culture, they'll be able to better make sense of the problems that are happening and the excellences that they're seeing, the two things, again, justice and injustice, beliefs and understanding. They'll be better able to make sense of it, and so they'll have more people tuning into them because they will seem more insightful. They will be more insightful, and they'll better be able to make change in the world as well. So, it's the listeners that I think are going to be better at spreading what we do here, compared to what I do, which is just read it and just read it and review it. That's all I'm doing. So that's what I've been thinking about lately. How do we reach others like Palmades? And for me, it might not be that I'm the Palmades, but maybe I'll be the Palmades to your Palmades. And then you can Palmades someone. You can share it. So that's a little comment about the stream itself.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
I apologize. Okay, so that's where we are. So, given everything that we've just reviewed, again, take it as a hypothesis. Don't believe me, but carry it, see if it pans out. Keep reading. And then Jesus comes along and says, "That's neat, Socrates. Thank you for all of that review and those archetypes and those bods like Hercules and Penelope, two excellences. The two kinds of journeys, Achilles and Odysseus. And of course, Palmades. who wakes up others. In exchange, I'm going to talk about the oh, and by the way, this art of Parmenides is needed. So as I say, well, I might only reach a small few, you small few might reach many, and I encourage you to do that, which you probably do anyway. As you understand, you'll see through your understanding, you'll do better commentary, or you'll do better content creation, or you'll have better conversations with your friends at the coffee shop. Cheers. So, this art is needed in many places and with many people. In return, let's talk about the secret Gnostic Gospel of John that was recently discovered in Egypt. And Egypt had a Hellenic tradition, or a tradition of Logos, even before the Hellenes. And while the Hellenics were crushed by the Christians and the Romans, the believers, of course, maybe there is still a lineage that's underground in Egypt, and maybe they even kept a lot of the books and texts, because we studied Socrates for like 1,000 years before the Dark Ages and Christianity crushed it. So maybe someone in Egypt could anticipate the counterforce and smuggled into caves some of these works in Egypt, the same way they did with these Gnostic Gospels that were burnt by the church. Funny that the church wanted to silence these stories about Jesus. Again, of course they did. Belief is fascism. It's always bad. So, of course, with any writer, we have to realize that someone's going to be at a level of interpretation. Unless they're doing midwifery and dream analysis, their beliefs are going to creep in, because that's the activity of removing that zombie virus. So all of these Gnostics will be having their own interpretation of the Hebrew Bible. In other words, they see the impact of understanding or Hellenic thought, and they were trying to find a way of Hellenized Judaism, add some understanding into their beliefs that they don't want to give up. So that's John wanting to reconcile the goodness of God with the false belief in evil, and the false belief about Adam and Eve and angels and stuff, to try and make them personify wisdom in some way. And Socrates says, you know what, there it is again. When believers grasp the power that understanding can bring through the use of analogies and allegories, they experience a desperate effort to hold on to their core beliefs. Now, again, if you see it, you'll see it everywhere, because ain't no one out there doing midwifery and dream analysis, especially now that Pierre has passed away. As one of the few people who do that activity, I haven't got many people knocking down. When I lived in California, there were some people that would seek me out to go through dream analysis and midwifery for a while, until the counter force was experienced. But yeah, so whether it's something unique about Californian people, they're more curious and open-minded, or they've got more spirit, I don't know. But ain't no one in Australia seeking me out. Meaning everyone is going through this process. They get a taste of understanding and the power of because the power of your false beliefs is more powerful even than wisdom. The pervy sage, the gambling sage, the alcoholic sage, the drunken master, Tsunade and Jiraiya and Master Roshi. That's the story of Odysseus. But also, it's so powerful to go with you beyond into your next life and be the cause of your next reincarnation. That's how powerful it is. That's why the single most, if you were to say there's one activity that all of society needs to be focused around, other than capitalism, which is maximizing profits or exploitation of the already super wealthy to the expense of all living and non-living beings and life on this planet, that's a fucked maxim or principle to have our society based around. If you were to say, okay, what's a good one? This. Philosophical midwifery would be the single activity, but of course you have to be doing philosophy too to surface. But really, it's midwifery. Therefore, we all are in this idea between Hellenic ideas and our own core beliefs. But that effort to Hellenize your beliefs or save your beliefs is not powerful enough to transform the old into the new, because again, it's a jump. It's a incommensurate golden mean analogy jump to a different cognitive function. You can't believe yourself into understanding. Now you just got to use understanding. You can't believe someone else and also think for yourself. Doesn't work. There's two opposites. So there's a counterforce to save our core beliefs. This is blocks understanding or blocks Hellenization. Because again, you can represent this with cultures. That's analogy. Blocks understanding is our false beliefs. So, and they causes these little sects or little groups, that these small closed communities, like we see with the with Mamdani and AOC and Bernie Sanders, sharing understanding, and how, you know, understanding would show that people need to be able to afford food and rent. And the modern Democrats say, fuck you, I'm going to get my bag. So, but they do see that the voters like to be able to afford food and rent, so they will try and create their own little sects and own little offshoots as they try and fight back against their own fucking political party. They'll create their own little sects, just like we have Anglicanism and Protestantism and evangelism and Pentecostalism and a prosperity gospel and all of these different Christian sects, as people try and save their old tradition while adding bits and pieces or whatever it is that they're seeing. The emerging logos. So within culture itself, the fact that we can talk about this, the fact that we can awaken to the logos, the fact that we had a Pierre Grimes, the fact that we had a Socrates at that period of time, at that turning point, and we have the fact that we were able to keep the Socratic text, the fact that we have Balboa translations of Socrates now, show that there is an emerging logos happening through time. Now, there are many species who have gone extinct. We can be one of them. Therefore, what we have to do if we want to save our species is to jump on board with the emerging logos. Okay, if we do try and change the old in terms of the emerging logos, it can change the character and vision of the believers into an awakening community without the walls of closed-minded beliefs. So that's the idea of meeting people where they're at and making these small incremental movements so they can completely reformulate and change themselves. Hey, you know how you like to be in a group? Yeah. And your group hates women? Yeah. But actually, these women are cool. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to be sexist anymore. You know how you hate gay people? Yeah. But actually, look what happens. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to be... Slowly, and then they have to jump. Oh, actually, we can see now we don't need to be blindly loyal to belief. Okay, the bridge from irrational family beliefs to humanness is through not belief. Jesus is wrong here. But the understanding in the promise of man's enlightenment. You don't need to believe in God. You can see it yourself and understand it for yourself and go beyond it. So why the fuck would you believe the guy with the funny hat telling you can't? They're lying to you. They're fucks who lie to you. And if you look at how they function, no shit. Look at how they function through history, no shit. They're liars. They don't know shit and they kill people. That's what they do. So, how do they get their power if they're so harmful and irrational and stupid? Call to duty. The mindless ones, still enslaved by their pathologos beliefs, will follow a call to duty and leave in their wake chaos and destruction. The ignorant follow the leader and then blame the leader. I was just doing my job. For whatever failures follow from his leadership. It keeps them from seeing their own crimes against the dignity of their fellow man. Hey, ICE members, what are you doing against the dignity of your fellow man? Hey, Jews in Israel, what are you doing? Hey, Christians killing Muslims, what are you doing? Hey, capitalists killing non-wealthy people, what are you doing? I'm just following the law. I'm smart by being a capitalist. I'm just doing my job by doing what Netanyahu tells me to kill. I'm just doing my job because my preacher says Trump is Jesus. Okay? Bullshit. Think for yourself. Don't be a mindless, ignorant follower of a leader. And what that does is keeps you from seeing your own crimes against the dignity of your fellow man. They plead that they are innocent and cry aloud that they were only doing their duty. The cry, here is the essence. Let's play a sting. The cry of doing one's duty, binds them from seeing themselves. We call this the unleashing of the tyranny of the mindless many. So that's the dynamic. It's very, very simple. Problems, belief from family, clan, identity. Development, understanding. Also addressing the counterattack. That's it. That's the meaning of life. That's what we're here for. That's it. But what about political strife? And why are the pages of human history soaked in blood of the innocent? Oh, easy. Unleashing the tyranny of the mindless many. These fascists or people wanting to play daddy's role abuse others the same way they were abused. Say it's your duty to follow dear leader. It's America. It's Germany. It's to save the Jews. You have some duty to blindly obey leader. That's unleashing the tyranny of the mindless many. That's manipulating the pathologos beliefs that are not addressed because we don't have a rational society yet that is doing midwifery and dream analysis every single fucking day. Every day before morning tea time, everyone in school should be doing this. That's what it means to be a rational society, which is not because I think so, it's because it's literally what we are born to do. It's literally the meaning of being alive as a human being. Philosophical midwifery. So ignoring that and not doing it before morning tea time for everyone at school or at work or at home is stupid. It's like being in a Mario game and not pressing the jump button. You're supposed to press the jump button. You can't do anything unless you press the jump button. Oh, but it's my opinion that there is no buttons and there is no goal. Saving the princess, well, that's just your opinion. The meaning of life isn't saving the princess. It's twiddling my thumbs. No, you gotta save the princess. You gotta know the self. Well, you gotta remove your false image of the self to know the self. That's the game. To do it, you press the button that does the jump. And you also have the other button that does the fireball. This is the button. Midwifery. Okay, and then we're up to the haters. And now the haters are where we're at because that's what we're using to mark the sections of the text. That's where we're at. And I'm going to reread the haters because we have my new soundboard which has sound effects. And the haters or the chorus and the anti-haters, the anti-chorus, have their own voice, so I'm going to jump in here. Chorus. They have the whiny voice. It's fine.
Here it is, plain as can be. There is nothing but the rejection of tradition in favor of the emptiness of disbelief. Here it is, we finally got a religion we can believe in. And these guys come along and try to destroy what they can't believe. The burden of sin and suffering is too bearable for us to bear. What's too terrible for us to bear? We're just small beings. We can't bear being wrong and being sinners. We need Daddy of Church to tell us we're okay. We need to believe. We're small beings.
That's weird that you think that.
That is weird.
The church offers a way to get out of our intolerable weight of sin. Ooh. We finally got a religion we need, and they come along and try to make it rational. Boo! Who cares if it's rational? We just want to be told that we're not sinners and we can magic away our problems with magic. Forget their boast, because it's nothing other than another attack by these phony intellectuals against us. Do away with punishment and the bad guys win! Woo! The only thing that keeps them even a little bit in line is fear of punishment. As for the will of Zeus, you've got to be kidding! How can a fiction have a will? There is nothing worthwhile here. It's just a play, so you can laugh your way through it.
Now, this dialogue we're seeing is a play that supposedly in the book, every soul sees upon death. So you all meet together in a giant garden, I suppose, and this play starts. And it starts at the beginning for everyone. That's the play they're talking about. So this is like, so why would you accept tyranny? Because they told you that you are shit. You are a sinner. You suck. You're going to go to hell. But if you accept my tyranny, I will take away your... That's tyranny. That's child abuse. That's cult behavior. Every system does this. You're all criminals, so you need the cops. You're all selfish, so you need capitalism. You're all sinners, so you need some priest to say, I forgive you. Always the same. Now, the will of Zeus, of course, is a metaphor, as theology isn't literal, so these believers are taking it literally like a barbarian. How can a fiction have a will? Yeah, because it's not a fiction, dopey. It's the representation of the will of self. The self, why would the self go through this unfoldment into these dimensions of reality and cognitive functions if it didn't desire you or desire itself to awaken through that back to the self, but with the dialectic or the learning and nurture of the dialectic in your back pocket? So obviously, what does it want itself to suffer? That's stupid. So that's the will of Zeus. And of course, the will of Zeus is also what caused the Trojan War to happen. The last war needed. Because it shows you that you don't need wars. Because at the end of that war, both Achilles and the leader of the Trojan army came together in midwifery. Oh my God, we have both been playing out the savage, belief-based ignorance and problems of our family clan. They've actually been similar. So it's stupid we've been fighting each other. You lost your beloved Hector in this war, and I've lost my beloved Patroclus. How about we stop fighting? And instead realize we are just mindlessly playing out the implications of an inherited false family clan belief that our fathers suffered and their fathers before them all the way back to the cave. Let's stop fucking killing ourselves for ignorance and blind duty to irrational ignorance and just, have fun and solve our problems and be happy. That was the reason, or the will of Zeus in the Iliad. So, that's the haters. And what do the anti-haters say? Anti-haters? I haven't fixed this button. Here we go.
The religion you believe in.
Wait, the religion that you can believe in needs to uplift you into the next phase in your spiritual path. Look at it, look at it, look at it. Not fortify your ignorance against that change. The idea that punishment keeps some doing the bad is not as important. The idea that punishment keeps some from doing the bad is not as important as recognizing what it really does is force people to find ways to escape being caught. I think that even the idea of sin needs to be looked at. What it really means one has the mark, as in archery. What you need when you miss the mark or target is to discover your fault and correct it. What would it take for you to fucking listen, crazy haters, to what's going on here?
So that's the anti-haters. So, what would it take for the believers to listen? Well, I just finished saying that, I guess my job is to help people to learn to read and to have fun reading this banger of a book, and just tell the truth about the meaning of life and our phases of development. And as the chorus says, your idea of God or spirituality needs to be able to have a logos understanding of the stages of development and facilitate that development through those 5 stages, not to solidify your ignorance. Dummy. So my job is to say that. Well, maybe it's your job, if you're someone who's been watching along and reading along, to answer this question. What question? What is the question? Well, it's the question of the book that we're reading. What is it? What would it take for the believers to listen? Very Palmadian question, right? Socrates. True it is that it is your turn to share what you see among the texts. These texts. Oh my God, my back's fucked. Which among them is closest to your teachings? So which of the Gnostic Gospels reflect Jesus' teachings better? That's not an easy task. I could approach it if you like. I would make it easy. What? It would make it easy if I were to do that. I am for it. Hey, welcome. Let's talk turkey. Great. I am for it. But what is the problem you see in stating it directly and simply? Well, we can answer that. If you state it directly and simply, ain't no one going to understand. Are you a Hellenist? Yes. Yes. Someone who appreciates and functions through understanding. I worship Apollo. So long as you recognize Apollo is a personification of reading, then that's fine. And of course, the maxim on the doorway to the temple of Apollo is know thyself. So what we have seen in the text, Roman is in opposition. So the Romans killed the Greeks and tried to solidify belief-based thinking, whereas the Greeks or the Hellenics have a hierarchy of gods that we have on the board. So Apollo represents the activity of focusing on the source of all. This is from the book, by the way. None of this is my own opinion. From the book, reading. To realize that by turning towards a higher mode of being, we can complete our philosophical journey. So we focus on the source of all, or the self, as we read. Now, as we read, we have to walk hand in hand with Aphrodite. The power of love awakens ousia. Ousia is that sixth sense of our mind to turn about and know itself, and raises all souls by the desire for goodness and beauty. So you can also represent Apollo and Aphrodite as Apollo being the rationality of the texts that we read, and when we put the pieces together, because we've got a question, to have a question is to be on a quest. Once we put it together as a whole, that inspires us. It's not a dry text. It awakens us to different perceptions of reality, cognitive functions, and more ourselves. So it's the two together, the reason and harmony and the beauty and wholeness that go together to Hermes. So Hermes is the top of that triad. Hermes is the leader of individual souls in the philosophical life. Hermes is the activity of philosophy and the activity of awakening through ousia. That's the dialectic. The dialectic is the structure that we use with reason and bringing it into beautiful wholes. The dialectic allows us to traverse all the way up to the source of all. That's Hermes with the magic flying shoes that gets us to race really fast. To Zeus. Zeus is our goal, the source of all, or the self of know thyself that exists, guided by divine wisdom. So that's the knowingness of being and understanding of its parts, or the whole Aphrodite and the parts Apollo. Having that together, you could say, is wisdom, and you use that apprehension of the whole and the understanding of the parts, or Aphrodite and Apollo, to take care of all living and non-living beings. So you reach the highest stage of self, and you can function through what you've been developing this whole time, the dialectic art, which is how to structure thinking and conversation. It's also the spiritual quest, because it's a focused attention on things that eternally exist with a question and an open-minded state of being, using your highest vision, using your highest understanding. That's meditation. So it's the archetype of spirituality, because all other yogas have pieces of that, but they all miss other pieces. For example, this understanding part, or the logos, is missing in all other spiritual traditions. So it's not only the path to our purpose, to know the self, and to be able to function through what we've learnt along the way to take care of all non-living and living beings, it's also our spiritual task, making it the meaning of life. The dialectic. And so we can represent the forces of the dialectic and the dialectic itself, Hermes, with these personifications. That's what theology is. The mythologizing or the personification of these intelligible, understandable, and experienceable, fancy word, intelligible, principles of reality and our soul's development. That's the meaning of life. That's what we're learning here. How to understand the meaning of life and apply it and verify it for ourselves. Where are you getting this from? The book that we're reading, Socrates and Jesus, A Dialogue in Heaven. So the story of the book is as everyone who dies leaves the physical world. Get rid of these numbers. So we have the physical world of becoming that we see with our physical senses. We enter the state of being after we die, and we meet other souls, and this play starts. It's a dialogue between Socrates and Jesus in heaven, and they discuss, well, what we've been reading. That's the book. I'm enjoying it, just curious. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. You can follow along on Twitch and YouTube, and you can join the Discord as well. And you can find a link to the PDF below if you want to as well. Dialectic, two things, two people in conversation. It's a structure of thinking that is the structure of thinking. Has 4 parts to it. Anything you're interested in? I want to know what beauty itself is, okay? Start by defining it. The subject or the self in relation to itself. What's beauty itself? When I think of Nietzsche is someone who hasn't gone through the dialectic and as with all human beings, is at some level of, where are our cognitive functions? Everyone is the same. Everyone is at some level of, let's find it. Here we go. So there are 3 dimensions basically. There's the physical world of becoming that you see through your senses and you get your opinions and beliefs from. Opinions and beliefs cause problems. You can also develop understanding here, which allows you to reach the experience of eternity. So the structure of the logos, or the intelligibility or patterns of reality, you use through understanding, but you can experience it all at once in the separation of your soul from your body, or death, and experiencing the soul as eternity. That's the highest experience or vision. That's knowledge. Now, of course, there has to be someone experiencing it, so there's that level of self beyond it. So every human being is at some level of development of understanding, some level of vision of reality, but also And that's what we do through Apollo and Aphrodite. We develop our dialectic to have better, good things of both, but also as a level of enslavement in a mindless, zombie-like state from the false beliefs you all get from childhood about yourself and reality. You don't know you have them because you didn't put them into words. That's the cause of all human ignorance, suffering, and problems. And as Nietzsche hasn't gone through the activity of surfacing that, that's called philosophical midwifery. That ended with Socrates. Also, you need to do dream analysis. Fortunately, there is a philosopher who has rediscovered dream analysis and midwifery, but because Nietzsche hasn't gone through that, all he is doing is expressing his ignorant beliefs. That's all he can do. He will have some level of understanding and some vision of reality, but it will be very, very limited. A, because he's not doing the dialectic. That requires you to read a book written by someone who has gone through this process, Socrates. They're only the Balboa version of Socrates, by the way, because that's the only translation where you can actually read the Greek. All other translations have been translators projecting their false beliefs to block their understanding and vision. That's called interpretation. So unless he was reading Socrates, a Balboa translation of Socrates, he's not going to have a very good understanding and vision or knowledge. And unless he was doing philosophical midwifery and dream analysis, he's going to be enslaved by his unsuspected false beliefs. That's the case for Nietzsche, that's the case for Hegel, that's the case for Adam Smith, that's the case for Bacon and Descartes, that's the case for Kant, that's the case for every single person in the tradition of Aristotle, modern philosophy. That's why they are materialists. While Socrates was able to reach this peak, his student Plato didn't do midwifery and dream analysis, so Plato was able to write about the idea of the good, not the good self or the one self. And his student Aristotle drew a line and said there is no such thing as the realm of being, and there is no such thing as the self. And Aristotle is the tradition of modern academics and modern philosophers that we call materialists or Stoic philosophers. Be it Kant or Hegel or Nietzsche, all of them are in the tradition of the Roman tradition or Aristotle. All they are doing is projecting their false beliefs and opinions universally. That's all they can do. Fortunately, there has been a philosopher who has come along and has shown us the method of using the dialectic to stop that problem and finally be able to solve human problems. Thank fuck, because the problems are going crazy. And also to learn the dialectic to reach the true nature of the divine or God, spirituality, and to go beyond that through the gateway of that luminosity to know the self. To escape the problems or the chains of our problems and the prison of our cycle of reincarnation. So that's true for Nietzsche and everyone. It's also true for the people that we are reading about in the book, the people who wrote the Gospels about Jesus. It's been true of everyone. We've looked at Mark and Paul. Matthew and Luke copy Mark, so we just look at Mark. Paul is very, very much about killing people and enslaving people through beliefs. That's why modern Christians quote Paul. John has a couple of sentences about the Logos, but then goes straight into his beliefs. And then we have the Gnostic Gospels that were buried by the church that we discovered in the 60s in Egypt that talk more about understanding and less about beliefs. But of course, because they are not going through midwifery and dream analysis, their beliefs will always creep in. So while the Hellenic tradition represents understanding and the Judaic tradition represents belief, we can say that all of these authors that talk about Jesus are trying to Hellenize Judaism, which is what everyone does. Everyone does it. As you learn understanding, you will only go so far, and then you will retreat into your beloved beliefs. I still want to be a Christian. I still want to be a Jew. I still want to be a materialist. I still want to be a Nietzschean or whatever. That's why you have to be going through two activities. You have a moral and ethical responsibility to go through dream analysis and midwifery to surface the root causes of our problems and injustice, while at the same time reading the books that we are reading here to develop an understanding of the Logos. That's true for everyone, for always, in any galaxy, in any multiverse, in any race, in any species. Therefore, it's a learning and nurture we are here to do as a soul. It's universal. So the meaning of life is what we're doing here. Let me go back. What if I am a materialist? Then you're a human being with a problem. Therefore, as we said, a moral and ethical responsibility to overcome the source of your problems and the injustice you inflict on yourself in limiting your development out of the material world into the world of being, where you can develop. This is metaphysics, by the way. Theology is just representing this with stories. So your injustice to yourself, but also you will inflict that injustice on others, because to be loyal to a false belief means you have to oppose understanding. So when someone comes along with understanding, you will try to shit on them and crush them, the same way your parents crushed and shit on you when you were a little kid. So that's normal. What do we know how do we know there is more than the world that we are part of? How do you know? Well, you go through the surfacing of the false beliefs that cause your problems. That will give you a freedom to develop understanding. Understanding is universal and true. It's not based on opinion, like whole, part, same, different. Everything you've seen is a whole or a part. Everything you've seen is the same as something and different than something. So there's a bunch of pairs that are the units of perception and the units of thought. All you do with understanding is learn how to use them. So we say, you're in a video game, read the manual. That's understanding. Also, your soul seeks things, like you seek beauty, right? Don't you want to know what beauty is? By the way, have you seen people attracted to sick ideas of beauty? Don't you want to purify your sick idea of beauty so you don't end up with a relationship with a sociopath? By the way, don't we all want justice? Don't you want to know what justice is? So that's understanding. But all those things that we use in understanding point us to the realm of being. For there to be a beauty in the physical world, a beautiful puppy, a beautiful painting, as adjectives, there has to be a noun. Beauty itself. You can't see beauty itself walking down the street, but you can perceive it with your mind turning about upon your mind. That's knowledge. That's nous. The capacity for your mind to turn around and know itself as its true nature. It's not a belief, it's literally what you're wanting. If you seek beauty, you'll want this. If you seek justice, you want this. If you seek excellence, you want this. It's the spiritual experience. And we all get it when we die. So to the extent that we've removed our false beliefs and developed an understanding and maybe even had lots of experiences of it, when you die, you will experience it at a certain level of depth. If you haven't done your job, you will reincarnate, and you'll bring with you the implications of living a life where you've been attached to false images and injustice that these false beliefs cause, so you will have to suffer the implications of your injustices that you've done in this world. So you bring with yourself your conditions for hell on earth. All of this is from the book, by the way. So yeah, you can know it, and you're supposed to. Poor Nietzsche. Well, yeah, poor everyone, but not just poor Nietzsche, everyone's in this game. If you're a baby, you get false beliefs. You have to learn about the world from someone, and your parents are going to be, unless they've gone through midwifery and dream analysis, and they haven't, are going to cosplay the knower and bullshit their kids. Every parent bullshits their kids, and I know what reality is. And when you start to be yourself, express yourself, the self, express a higher state of mind, being, or express understanding, that will threaten the family way of being. And your parents have two choices: learn, adapt, change, grow, or shit on you, crush you. And they always choose the second. That's what it means to be a human being in this part of history. So yeah, everyone gets false beliefs, and you accept them. You wordlessly come to a conclusion that undermines yourself, undermines your state of mind, and undermines your own development of understanding to be a role or a member of the team. And then if someone comes along and says, hey, I think God says the same thing, and if it's similar enough to your family ignorance, then you'll become a Jew or become a Christian or become a Muslim. And if a president or tyrant says the same thing, then you'll be a MAGA or you'll be a Nazi or whatever. All it is if you don't, this is why it's a moral imperative, if you don't surface your unsuspected false beliefs that undermine yourself, then a tyrant will come along and say, you've got a duty to me. That's unleashing the tyranny of the mindless many. That's why the pages of human history have been soaked in blood. There's a root cause to human problems, our unsuspected false beliefs. That's it. That's just that easy, it's just that simple. But it does require courage and character and integrity to say, well, not my beliefs, to not say, yes, the Muslims are wrong and the Jews are wrong, but not my mummy and daddy, not my beliefs. I'm a special boy and my beliefs are the best beliefs ever. And I'm going to kill you if you say anything against that. So it requires maturity and integrity. But humans don't have that. You have to learn it. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn integrity and courage and maturity. That's virtue. Otherwise, we won't. We will just be ignorant assholes fighting those who represent understanding. Like we killed Socrates. That's why there are genocides happening right now. Not because we can understand that it benefits the whole to murder children, but believers who haven't gone through midwifery and dream analysis to surface their unsuspected beliefs are being manipulated by Netanyahus and Trumps, people who say that your beliefs are God's beliefs or the law beliefs, and they become tyrants, and that's human suffering. That's just that simple. So not just Nietzsche, everyone. After Buddha was dead, they showed his shadow in the cave for centuries. Okay, you know what that means? God is dead, but the people will still be caves of millennia. We must defeat his shadow as well. Okay, all right. Yes, so people who grew up in a belief system, when they realize that their beliefs are irrational, they may go down. You have to address the effects of your upbringing. If you grew up in a belief, and you did, you will be taught to hate understanding. So you think, hey, if the believers say God is this terrible shit, I don't want to be a believer. There is no God. That's stupid. Just because a tyrant says there is one idea of justice and it's killing the Palestinians or killing the poors, doesn't mean there's no justice. It means that these believers were wrong. You have to overcome the effects of growing up in a belief. Again, midwifery and dream analysis. It's the skill of the dialectic to surface your own effects and beliefs. Otherwise, you'll say there is no God, as Nietzsche says. Of course there fucking is. You idiot, you're supposed to. It's you, it's your own mind. Know it, understand it, go through it, because there's a higher level beyond it. But these liars lied about it. Yeah, no shit. So did your parents. That's why you listen to them. That's why midwifery and dream analysis. So yeah, same. So there's a state beyond, even lower than belief. So while belief is the cause of problems, that's the fourth stage. Understanding is learning to think for yourself properly. That's the third stage of apprehension of the world, or cognitive development, or evolution. Knowledge is seeing it all at once, the divine, or God, if you want to call it God. And of course, there has to be something causing that and experiencing it. That's the self. So our question is, if the self is beyond knowing, how do you know the self? Now, there's a stage beyond belief where you say, there is nothing. Fifth. Because these fuckers lied about God, there is no God. Atheists. So you don't want to go down from belief, you want to go up and pick up understanding. And so we can have 5 stages of human development or consciousness development that all living beings are going through. All of this is from the book, by the way. The book bangs. I'm thinking of it in the way Christianity is dead, but we are ruled by Jesus' shadow in the cave. Yes, exactly. Well, so I got ahead of you. So you said the same thing. The effects of our beliefs still prevent us from development. Exactly. So well said. That liberal humanists worship his shadow and their morality is informed by it. Okay. I want to let you catch up so I don't try to respond after 10 minutes. You make a comment, so I will pause. Yes. These are big questions. They need big answers. I appreciate your perspective. Not a perspective. Perspective is an opinion. This is understanding. Understanding is true for always, for everyone, and you can see it yourself. That's the difference. So that fifth group, See, the believers say, my opinions are universal. God thinks so. There is no understanding, there's just my beliefs. And God says so, and that's it. Now, the fifth class are people who say everything is just an opinion, relativists. If these fuckers were lying, then everything must be perspective. Everything is relative to opinions and perspective, therefore there is no truth, there is no understanding, and there is no self. It's just a perspective, all perspectives are equal. That's that fifth class. So whenever you say, that's an interesting perspective, you are in that state of being. Be aware of it. Who gives a shit what people's perspectives are? You want to know the truth. You want to understand. Understanding, you can't believe your way into creating a computer. You can't believe your way into fixing your car's engine. You need understanding. You also need to know the whole. So a doctor has to have knowledge of the whole of the healthy body and understanding of the parts. You can't believe yourself into being a surgeon. Now, the only two areas where we've said, oh, that's just your belief, is religion and politics. That's why they are the cause of human suffering. They say, my belief is we should kill all the Jews, or kill all the Palestinians, or kill all the brown people. That's fucked. Kings and clergy. So this whole idea, don't talk about politics or religion at the dinner table. It's the opposite. Only talk about them, because those fuckers are getting away with manipulating us through belief thinking, and we need to demand understanding. We need to understand the truth of the divine, understand how to help people, understand what a just state is. The modern Democrats say, it's all just opinions, and they let Trump do fascist shit. They let Netanyahu do genocide. That's fucked. Everything is relative to opinions. If it's his belief that Abraham wants him to kill the Palestinians, then who are we to say? That's perspective. That's opinion. That's spineless. That's that fifth stage of human functioning, even lower than belief. Because it creates the conditions for believers to say, hey, let's all bind together in MAGA. Let's all bind together in Zionism. Because the Democrats aren't binding together in shit. Everything is just perspective. Who's to say what's right and wrong? If I'm a dentist and I believe it in my heart, then I can smack a child face with a hammer. That's not dentistry. Everything I'm saying is not an opinion or a belief or a perspective. It's the logos. It's understanding. It's always true. It's always true for everyone, and you can see it for yourself. Don't believe me, that's 4. Develop your own dialectical understanding, that's 3. And everything that we're understanding, you can confirm in your own direct experience if you stay in the game. That's 2. And provided you've also been going through philosophical midwifery and dream analysis to surface your unsuspected false beliefs that you are identified with, your ego, your mask, your self-identity, then you can also reflect on your experience of knowledge and say it has to itself have a cause. That's your process to reach the self. Therefore, this is the archetype or paradigm for spirituality and learning. For always. For every galaxy, every race, every dimension, every multiverse. That's the significance of Socratic or true philosophy. Hope that makes sense. I also think the universe is uncaring. Yes, of course you think that. That's a belief that you got from childhood. So you can only see the providential nature or the caring nature of reality through the logos, just as you can only solve your problems through the logos or dialectic. Otherwise, you'll just stay stuck in your problems and you'll confirm, fuck, then this world is just suffering. Well, you're not going to solve your puzzles unless you do the midwifery dialectic. Your dreams are just nightmares. Yeah, no shit. Unless you unpack the gift of your dreams through the dialectic. There is a skill you haven't learned. Why? Because that skill threatens your family clan's way of being, and your parents being wise, smart knowers, and your preacher knowing shit. They have to silence the dialectic. So yes, if you don't unpack your problems with the dialectic and midwifery, if you don't unpack your dreams through the dialectic and dream analysis, and if you don't unpack the nature of self and reality through this philosophy, you will conclude that reality is dumb or cruel. You won't see the providence because you're not unpacking the gift. Again, once again, the moral imperative for the dialectic for everyone. Dialectician in every house. That's the new political motto. You see? Does that make sense? In other words, I'm not shitting on you. I'm saying, of course, given your upbringing in a culture that hasn't recognized the dialectic because we killed Socrates and picked up Aristotle, who rejected Socrates, just as we're not even following Jesus, the modern Christians picked up Paul, which rejected Jesus. In other words, our tradition is bound by beliefs which are not neutral, they are in opposition to understanding. If that's the society you were born into, two things. Number one, of course you don't see it yet. You have to learn the skill. That's why I stream, to help people interested in learning how to think and learn, helping people do it. Sharing the good word. And maybe don't say it that way. But yeah, of course. But the second thing is, if your soul has decided to reincarnate into this period of history where we are still bound by false beliefs or sick beliefs, pathologos, then your soul has done so for a reason. The problems you're facing and the perspectives you had and the family members you've had and the parents you had and the religion and culture you were born into was for a reason. When you realize that, you see that your soul right now, with all of the problems and issues you have, is a perfect representation of all of the forces upon your soul through multiple reincarnations up till now. If you can see that, you can see the underlying justice and perfection in the apparent injustices we face in everyday world, in our everyday life. So yeah, so normal, and you're well, just like everyone else, but that's okay because you're here to become a hero. A hero is someone who, as Achilles and Odysseus does, reflect on those beliefs through midwifery and dream analysis. See that all of your problems and dramas is nothing other than an expression or a manifestation of these false images and clan identity, including your fantasies, including your nightmare, your dreams, including your tangents. It's all the same, meaning all problems are in principle solvable. And if you go through that solving, you become free. You're no longer bound by fate or suffering or blocks. That freedom might lead you to ask, well, okay, if I'm not that thing I thought I was this whole time, what the hell am I? Now you can awaken to the higher spiritual journey to know the self as pure being and also as that which is transcendent of pure being, to be the cause of pure being. That's the hero's journey. That's the story of Achilles in the Iliad. That's the story of Odysseus in the Odyssey. Penelope has to do it and also has to deal with the ignorance of simps. So she has a higher level of difficulty to overcome to be an ideal woman, Penelope. And of course we have Palmedes, who can challenge people to do the same thing. So can he confront people's ignorance and challenge them to accept the hero's journey or the call to adventure?
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
So yeah, so nothing personal. Again, it's not personal because we're just talking about principles. That's metaphysics. That's true philosophy. Principles that apply to everyone. There is a logic that can be represented through the gods. Yes, exactly. You nailed it. You nailed it. So this logic that we experience as the laws of the physical world, we can apprehend and use those same principles, whole, part, same, different, like, unlike, beauty, excellence, analogy. That's like learning the rules of the game. That's how you think. Now, where does it exist? Where does beauty exist? Where does justice exist? Where does whole and part exist? Is it we see that being used in the laws and principles or the logic that you're talking about in the physical world? Is there like a filing cabinet in the sky and there's like one filing cabinet for whole, another filing cabinet for beauty? No, they're all aspects of pure being. In other words, while you experience it as a oneness, or fancy word for that is monad, when you turn around and you experience everything all at once, the enlightenment experience, what Taoists thinks is the end, because it's the greatest experience, and that's Taoist, they have the yin-yang symbol, you can understand it when you're back in your body. Understanding that it was, hey, it's beauty, but it also has all the parts harmonized. Is beauty and harmony two different things? Well, yes, but also no. In other words, you can't have beauty without harmony, and harmony has to be beautiful, but they are two different ideas. That's the significance of aspects. While it's a oneness, you can intellectually distinguish the aspects. Those aspects are called the eidos in Greek. We call it the ideas with a capital I, because it's not a concept. They have an existence. And it's been mistranslated as forms in Aristotelian education that draws a line. It's not a form. It's not a form of a chair in the sky like my fucking stupid university lecturer said. That's a mistranslation. Fortunately, we have the Balboa translation of Plato, so we don't have to listen to that garbage. But yeah, you got it. So there is so not only is it logical, but you can experience it. Not only is it logical, but our soul seeks it. We seek beauty and justice. Not only is it logical, but it reflects the self in the highest way. It's a reflection of the self. So when you take all of those ideas along with what you said about logic, you have the idea of the logos. That's the logos. It's intelligible, logical and experienceable and seekable and reflecting the self, and all living things seek it. All of these things are aspects that we are pulling together to get an understanding of the logos. So yes, well said. It's fine for us to worship these gods, so long as you recognize that they are metaphysical. So theology is a personification of those ideas, and the heroes are a personification of our soul's journey that we've been talking about. And so long as you recognize that, that's true theology. In the book, Socrates says the Hellenic people saw that there were other people like the Judaic people who took it literally. There's actually a guy in the sky, and they called them barbarians. That's stupid. And it obviously allows you to be manipulated through those images and beliefs and opinions to kill the non-believers. Because God said you need to kill those people. Okay, I'm doing my duty as a Jew. I'm doing my duty as a Muslim, as a Christian, as a MAGA. Bollocks. That's stupid. Don't be stupid. Theology is a personification of these metaphysical principles that we can understand and are always true. They're not a belief, opinion, or perspective, or image. Well, they're an image, but yeah, you get it. Doesn't that mean that there is more to our lives? Yes, this is the meaning of life. Exactly, you're here for a reason. To master this art of dialectic, to free yourself from your false image of the self, so you can progress in your evolution. You don't reincarnate back down into Hades. Yes, you got it. We are more than our body and mind. Yep. So to have the ideal state of mind would be this one. To be functioning ideally, that's all at once. This is out of time, eternity. So people who've had this experience, as a dialectician who's learning how to understand that, you can ask them questions. Hey, talk about it. What was it like? Maybe they've done it in meditation. Maybe sometimes athletes or musicians get into the state. Drugs sometimes do it. However they had the dreams, however they had the experience, you say, hey, talk about it. Put words on it. That's how we learn. We encourage words. Now, we get our false beliefs from childhood when we weren't able to question our parents. No questions, no speaking. We are doing the opposite. We're learning how to be good people by encouraging the words. So you ask them, hey, pal, put words on it. What was it like? And they will use words like, oh, it was infinity. Or it was everything all at once. Now, you can understand what they're talking about if you have the logos. Infinity, unlimited. But you recognize unlimited is one of those pairs that have its opposite, limit. So, hey, buddy, it was infinite. You know it's unlimited. By the way, was there anything outside of it? And they'll say, oh, no, there wasn't. So put words on that. No, you don't want to You want them to give birth. This is why it's called midwifery. Give birth to their words. So what would you say? So you're directing their attention. Because there are only two things we can do. Look at things and look for things. What are you looking at? Are you looking at the self or your highest vision? Or are you looking at others? Dear leader, mummy and daddy. Are you looking for the logos? Or are you looking for your pathologos, false beliefs that you project onto the world? That's it. Others and pathologos, the cause of problems. Looking at the self for the logos is the cause of solving problems and excellence. So, hey, look at that vision is what you're encouraging them. They'll say, but I want to talk about Tom Cruise. And you'll say, no, don't look at others. Look at the self. What did you recognize in that experience? They'll say, oh, it's infinity. Unlimited. By the way, now look at this. Can you look at the fact there was nothing outside of it? Oh yeah, put words on it. You're midwifing them, you're having them give birth. Yeah, well, I guess it was all at once. Limit. They were experiencing unlimit and limit all at once. That's the nature of enlightenment or knowledge or ousia or nous in the Greek. And all understanding is using those aspects in time. While you experience it out of time in knowledge, you experience it in time with understanding. While you experience it as a whole in being, you experience it as parts with understanding. In other words, look at this part and then look at this part. Infinite, but self-contained. And then you'll come to see, hang on a second, it's the highest unlimit or infinity and the highest expression of limit, completely self-contained. It's always the ultimate positives of logos or understanding that's used to describe the experience of being. It's the greatest use of the logos. That's why it's the greatest experience. That's why Taoists confuse it for the end or enlightenment. But of course, you can keep going and say, hey, by the way, if these two things were experienced together as a oneness, does that mean there has to have a cause for there to be a oneness? That's the one. So it's only through mastery of the logos and dialectic understanding that you can reach the highest spiritual levels. So Taoists who don't have the logos stop here, for example. Making this not only learning how to understand, and it's also the paradigm for not just solving problems and developing understanding, it's also the paradigm for spirituality. So in other words, you can say it's the one spiritual thing. And all other spiritual traditions is some level of vision and some level of understanding mixed in with some amount of family clan beliefs or traditions. Everything is a mixture of those, except for this one because it's the pure one. So it's the archetype of spirituality. And of course it is. Just like there's only one way to fix a car engine, there's one way to fly a plane, there's one way to do surgery, there's one way to do spirituality, and there's one way to think and learn and stuff. Of course it is. Doesn't mean humans are going to interpret and shove it and stuff their own stupid beliefs in there. That's why you have to, again, do philosophical midwifery, which is how to surface those false beliefs that cause your projection. So we can unify our human race in the love of understanding. The love of understanding we call philos-dianoia. Philo-dianoia. That's the new way of being that we're sharing on this channel, philo-dianoia. Because understanding's open to everyone. This is true for everyone. Every galaxy, every race, every people, every culture. It benefits everyone. Everyone can benefit by removing the cause of their problems. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Maybe there's a truth out there, but it's near impossible for us to grasp. Right, so you'll have to find the person who told you that this is out of your grasp. I just told it to you. Did you understand it? Was it easy? Was it simple? Was it straightforward? Did it make sense? Then of course you can grasp it. In order to believe some other fucker, they have to convince you that you are shit. Your mind isn't the divine. Yourself isn't important, and you are a small bean and a bad noodle who can't do understanding. Because if you can understand, you don't have to believe your parents, or your preacher, or your minister, or your rabbi, or your imam, or whatever the fuck Scientologists have, Thetan level 80, or your evangelist, or whatever the fuck. Understanding means you're free. Believers don't want you to be free, so they tell you, you can't understanding, you're a piece of garbage. Your mind isn't the divine, you're a sinner. You can't follow the self, you have to follow dear leader, it's your duty. So you have to, but it's important, as you learn this, you will find your thoughts, your images, your feelings and states of mind that block you will arise. That's the gift. Your job is to write them down. Like Sherlock Holmes, those are the clues to solve the mystery. Some fucker was a Moriarty when you were a young kid. When you were doing this, naturally, because you were born seeking the self. And Moriarty came along and said, you can't do it. You can't know God. You can't understand problems. If people knew the meaning of life, we wouldn't have war. If you could know what happens when you die, then surely I would know it, and I'm the best. They are lying. You can know it. Socrates knew it. You can know it. They didn't know it because they were too fucking cowardly and stupid to learn this and practice it. They would rather put on the big funny hat and pretend to be a knower. That's sadism. When believers pretend to have knowledge and understanding, all they can do is crush people, because in order to do surgery, you need knowledge and understanding of surgery. So you can't cure an illness unless you have knowledge and understanding, but you can sure as hell stab someone with just beliefs. You can fuck up a surgery when you just believe you're a surgeon. You can do malpractice. That's the nature of kings, clergy, and parents. Cosplaying knowing while inflicting this injustice to tell you you can't understand, know, or recognize the self. And the fact that they think it's knowing because it was done to them means they're addicted to it. That's sadism. That's why when these people get into power, Netanyahus and Trumps and Hitlers and Putins and popes and bishops and all these people, all they fucking do is hurt people. Always. In this world, in any species, in any galaxy, provided they are operating out of the stage of belief. So you're right. You have been convinced that you can't understand, and that's why you have to do midwifery along with this reading. You have to do two activities. As you develop understanding by this reading, you will find the counter force or the counter attack of your beliefs coming in to stop you. You have to do both. That's what we're here for. Like, it's literally the meaning of life. To understand the truth may end in despair. Yes, it's the opposite. So again, that's a lie you've been told by someone in your childhood. So it might not be our best interests to fully seek the truth. That doesn't make sense. Is it in your interest to, I don't know the truth about whether your sandwich is moldy or there are maggots in your sandwich? Does it benefit you to know the truth about how to ride your BMX bike? Does it benefit you to know the truth about whether or not your car needs petrol? Why would you think you would benefit by being lied to? That sounds like some brainwashing shit there. We may want to develop an understanding of the world which blinds us to things that promote our flourishing. Well, it's the opposite. Like I just said, by the way, you can practice this. Pick one example. Let's say you're a BMX rider. Hey, does it benefit you? Can you flourish as a BMX rider if you understand how to do a wheelie? as you understand how to do a nollie flip. Okay, then you pick a second example. We're going from one to a many. Hey, what else do you do? Cooking. Does it benefit you by understanding how spices work? Does it benefit you by understanding how long you should cook your pasta for? Okay, now you go from one to many to a principle. Therefore, as a principle, can we say that understanding benefits always? Then you go from the principle to apply it to the issue. Therefore, understanding our soul, understanding the stages of development our soul is here to go through, understanding the reason we were reincarnated and how we can reach our fullest flourishing, would therefore always be beneficial. Therefore, anyone who tries to limit understanding by saying, hey, just believe me, bro, is fucking with you, whether they know it or not. As a principle, therefore, beliefs and opinions are bad and understanding is good, especially when it comes to the soul and those things in our society that deal with the soul, spirituality, not religion, because religion means to be bound by belief. And we just said that principle of that is bad. So spiritual understanding and government. Politicians claim should be in charge because they believe in racist shit. Fuck you. There needs to be an understanding of justice as the logos, as well as some experience of it, that's knowledge, and a recognition that our purpose is to move beyond that to the self. Just like there needs to be an understanding and knowledge of surgery or BMX or cooking. So that's how we can use the dialectic to help people through that kind of reasoning. Now I'm doing it kind of quick because, I'm not talking to you in person, but you can practice this yourself because this is a learning that you need to practice, learning and nurture. So do it with yourself, write it down if you want, invite your friend to coffee and say, hey, you're buying me coffee today. And they'll say, hey, hang on, Fantods, why am I buying coffee? Yeah, well, you're buying coffee because I'm going to walk you through a dialectic, my friend. Fantods, what the heck is that? I learned it today on this awesome stream with the best streamer ever. He's even better than Asmongold and Hassan Piker. What? Trust me, you're buying the coffee. And then those stages of reasoning you can lead him through. And because you're understanding it, you can apply it as a principle. That's understanding the principles. So for you, it was BMX and cooking. For him, it might be chess and, skateboarding. But that's the dialectic. It's always true. In other words, they are predefined steps you can take people through to a conclusion of a principle that you can then apply to the topic. So one example, many examples, two or more, to a principle. That's the conclusion that you can then apply back to the issue at hand. And you're going to benefit his soul because you've purified him from a false belief that understanding is bad, and you've demonstrated a good principle that will always be true in this lifetime and in any lifetime. So you're functioning in a just way by benefiting the soul of another person. In the two ways we can benefit: purify our false beliefs and perfect our understanding. Those are the two activities we're here to do, and the two activities we can do, and the two sources of benefit. So hopefully he will buy you the coffee. And if you want, you can join the Discord and you can share what happened. I did this, but then he punched me. Or I did this and everyone in the coffee shop cheered. And one guy clapped. Because he was the only one and he clapped for a long time. And he just kept clapping. He really appreciated what I did. And he didn't stop clapping. Okay, so you can share what happened in Discord if you like. I am enjoying your not my criticism, it's just reason of relativism, but as a materialist. Again, so you're as a materialist. See how you're identifying with it. See, that's the issue. These are just hypotheses. All of these dialectics are hypotheses. They're ifs. You don't know if they're true. You have to apply them. You have to talk with your friend. You have to see whether it can open your mind to higher insights. So you have an if sack, a sack of hypotheses. It's in your inventory. In the quest. To be a To be on a quest means to carry a question. So carry questions. What is the meaning of life? Why do I have my problems? Is the reality uncaring? Does God exist? So these are questions. You carry both. The issue becomes if you identify with one. Fuck you, I'm a Christian. I'm going to kill you and your family. That's the source of human injustice forever. Fuck you, Palestinian, I'm a Jew. Bullshit. Judaism is a hypothesis. Carry it. Carry Christian hypotheses. In fact, carry all of the hypotheses until you wake up to the real one understanding. Don't ever identify with a hypothesis. That keeps you stuck. That makes you a savage. That makes you a brutal fucking Nazi. I am a white supremacist. I am a MAGA. Fuck you. You are not your beliefs. A belief is something you have. No, not you. I'm getting angry at the fascists. But we need to identify for ourselves when we say, oh, but I am a Jew, or but I am a Christian, or but I am a Scientologist, or but I am, etc. You're not. That's something you carry. It won't come with you when you die. Well, it will come with you in a negative sense when you die, but it's not real. Now notice, at any stage of that dialectic you will go through with your friend, there will, because that's the logos, that's always going to be true. There will be a point where he says, fuck you, or tries to change the topic, or says, I don't like your tone, or says, I don't like the color of your skin, or the cut of your jib. This is a pathologos block to the logos. Now, that's why you need to do two things. You go, oh, okay. Now, that's interesting that you'll block the logos. Let's talk about that state of mind. Because he's imitating his mummy or his daddy. When his mummy or his daddy saw him going through the logos, they said, no further, not in this house. We are Christians here, fucker. Don't you think for yourself? Every human being has experienced this. That's why we're here. So, the real purpose of going through the dialectic to see the significance of understanding is to surface the blocks. Now you're doing the Sherlock Holmes game. Get him to talk about what it feels like, what words come up, who does it sound like? Does it sound like someone from... And then once you've got enough clues, you can say, hey, by the way, have you felt this way before? This state of mind that blocks the logos because of a blind, savage, caveman-like identity with beliefs has a history through your life, causing your problems all the way through your life. That's the next stage. That's called philosophical midwifery, because then you can find the origin scene and you can get him to do what he was not able to do when he was a baby. Question. Use your words. Understand. Until we do that, you will be blocked, your friend will be blocked, and our society will continue to fight wars due to blind loyalty with beliefs because they identify with it. Therefore, philosophical midwifery, what we just described, is the moral and ethical and spiritual obligation for every single living human being. Never punishment, always this. That's always true. That's our job. We will become a rational race that can survive our inevitable extinction if we do this. If we don't, we're fucked. That's it. It's just that simple. Does the lion concern himself with the suffering of the gazelle? Well, who gives a shit? We are humans. We want to care for all living beings. If you're a good human being. And if you don't, if you want to see human beings suffering, then you got to ask yourself, why? Why don't I see the self in that human being? Why don't I see they have the same mind? And why don't I see that they are exactly the same as me in that they are the same self with the same mind? going through a reincarnation to surface their false beliefs from childhood that cause their problems, and use that freedom from their, through philosophical midwifery, gain a freedom, and then use that freedom to develop understanding so they can then help others. You pass it on. You were helped, then you help someone else. That's a mean analogy. That's the Dharma. That's teaching. As Socrates was taught by Diotima, so too can Socrates help us remove our suffering, our problems. And then as we master that, we can talk to our friends over coffee and help them. And so on and so on. It's a win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
So yeah, as soon as you see somebody who is not doing this, they are rejecting their purpose or destiny, and it's up to you whether you want to challenge them to become a good person or not. But for yourself, when you start being cruel to yourself, or cruel to your partner, or cruel to your loved ones, or cruel to your employees, or cruel to the Palestinians, then you have to ask yourself, hang on a second, where the fuck did I learn this inhuman bullshit? If you don't, then you are being unjust, and you will suffer the implications in your reincarnation. Because you're identifying with an unjust way of being and self that will limit your participation in pure being when you die, preventing you from going beyond being, and instead you'll have to play out the implications of that injustice in your next life. So it's a lose-lose if you tolerate your own cruelty. I was raised Christian, sorry for you, and am now a follower of Apollo and Nietzsche. So maybe the ways my parents raised me led me to this belief, but I think that I came to them through my own curiosity. No, you will be influenced by your upbringing. There's no way around that. Necessarily, you've reincarnated into this family to get these beliefs. Now, if you leave them, you're still not free from them. You have to go through the reflection, because you still have an image and a mask and a way of being. So, but everyone says that though, it's not unusual. I learned through the school of, my parents didn't influence me. Advertising doesn't influence me. I've not been influenced by the Abrahamic religions. I'm a special boy. I'm the one human being who hasn't been influenced by my beliefs and opinions. I learned through my own independence. I learned through the school of hard knocks. That's irrational. And you'll find that the more stupider people say that, like sexists and racists and hillbillies and stuff. I just know that the blacks are bad, and I don't have to learn anything from nobody. I just know that in my heart. Jesus is in my heart. That's what I know. It's not knowing. It's your unsuspected beliefs. But your curiosity is your way out. So you're good to be curious. Hey, what am I carrying? I can see those religious people are nuts, and that family is nuts, and those parents don't know shit but pretend to. Then what about mine do I not see? That's the curiosity, and that's integrity. You need integrity to play. And why not abandon all this talk about the soul and reincarnation and embrace tribalism, materialism, and the pursuit of power and achieve glory in your life? Yes, that's the mentality of fascism. Exactly. The gods envy us. Okay, you don't know about the gods yet, but everything is more beautiful because we're doomed. All right, so these ways of thinking are expressions of the beliefs that you grew up with, so worth taking note of. So as you take notes of these ways of thinking, eventually you'll start to notice a repeating theme. You might even start to notice how this will affect your relationships negatively or block yourself from the goals. I want to do this thing, but I feel like I'm doomed, so I'm going to give up before I start. That kind of thing. So your job is to take notes. And eventually you'll start to notice themes. And once you've noticed themes, and if you genuinely want to be a better person and you genuinely want to free yourself from your problems, then you can find a dialectician to say, hey, I'm ready for some midwifery. If you're just pretending because you want to feel like a big, strong knower like your daddy, even though you don't know anything, then, you're doomed. You are doomed. It'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But, that's part of the stages of learning, to realize that everything you thought you knew was wrong. That brings a shock. We call that being stung. To be all out at sea without a life raft. What do I do? Surely I need my images. How will I manipulate people in the world? I need my beliefs. How will I know right from wrong? I need to be a part of the family clan. How will I get support? So this is a fear that you're not good enough unless you carry the cause of your problem. That's why you need courage. And you also need understanding to recognize that this realizing you're wrong is necessary for learning. Fascists will always try and escape being wrong because they don't want to be punished. Your job is to be wrong and to learn from it. Let's say it's true that your mother attempted to get you aborted. Should she tell you this truth or would it lead to who cares? I don't see how it would help you in this. Should she shield you from this truth? I don't see why you would care. I don't get how your job to surface your false identification with yourself that has caused your problems in your everyday thoughts, distractions, tangents, fantasies, and dreams, and to free yourself from that, I don't see how that has anything to do with what your mum says. Unless she used it as a way to get you to undermine yourself, then yeah, fuck yeah. If you can still talk to her, absolutely. Hey mum, when you pretended to be knowing, you did this. Tell me about it. Where did you learn that bullshit? When did you suffer that? When did you say that did your parents tell you you were unwanted? So yeah, if you can talk, then sure, absolutely. Because it was from that origin scene that you developed your own belief about yourself to save your image of beauty. Either she is wrong or I'm wrong, and you took the blame. That's the fundamental injustice against ourselves that causes our functioning as we inflict it on others. We project other people doing that, and the irony being, once we project that injustice on others and feel like others are doing it, we then try to respond as the big strong knower and remedy the injustice by doing the same thing back, because that thing you're projecting is your model of justice. So we have the principle of the cry bully. The Jews are doing a genocide and crying. Everyone's saying we're doing a genocide. The MAGA is doing Nazi shit and saying, oh, but you're being mean to me when we do Nazi shit. Don't call me a Nazi. Cry bullies. Trump thinks everyone is attacking him while he is killing people. Yes, that's the nature of the ignorance and blind spot caused by the beliefs that we have to address. We will continue to play out the implications of our injustice until we go back and address that root injustice. We will project it on others and feel hurt, and we will do it on them in response. It becomes a cycle of ignorance and violence. That's the nature of human difficulties. You are a man. Okay. Do they have the same mind as my own? I'm not sure. Exactly. Do they have the same mind as my own? I'm not sure about that. Brilliant. That's a question. Carry it with you. Put it in your inventory in your question sack. Become puzzled about it. Get super puzzled. Realize you don't know and feel what it's like to know you don't know in your body. Get comfortable with that. See the courage it takes to know you don't know. To carry a question about the mind like that is to be on a quest. That's brilliant. That's what we want. As you follow that question and seek a legitimate answer that satisfies you, you will surface your false images and beliefs that get in the way. Meaning you have to do both. Follow the logos to answer your question, which is to be on a quest, giving you the conditions to surface your problem and address your problem. That's the two activities. So keep that question. Good for you. Cruel to your enemies. Exactly. So that's fascist. So beliefs have to say, my clan is different. You are my enemy because you do understanding. That's fucked. That's fascism. There are no enemies. That's fucked. Even if there was an enemy, you think you're going to make them better by making them suffer? That's sadism. Exactly. Cruel to my enemies is sadism. That's the cause of human problems. I have an enemy. Donald Trump. Oh, people who don't vote for me are my enemy. I'm gonna kill them. I'm so just. Bollocks. Do you make a horse better by inflicting suffering on it? No. One example. Do you make a dog better? Do you make a math student better by smacking him in the face when he's made a mistake? Do you make the math student better if you say he's made a mistake, so he's my enemy? Again, so from that to a principle, and a principle to this. That's the stages of reasoning. Can you love and not hate? I would suspect you probably wouldn't love bad things. I agree, I'm deeply influenced by my parents. Yeah, good for you. I have diverged from them significantly. Right, but we still carry the fundamental. While we can diverge a lot and be very different, there will still be that fundamental root aspect identification with yourself that you don't even know you carry, because you think you are it. You see through it. That's the one that you're after. Again, takes courage, takes openness, takes curiosity, takes having a question, takes seeking a legitimate answer to that question. But you can do it. That's the hero's journey.
You're a wizard, Harry.
You're a wizard, Harry. I'm talking about a situation where truth might be harmful in regards to the abortion condition. I don't see any harm in it. I don't know if they do not have the same mind as my own. Good. You know you don't know. Feel it. Recognize it. Get familiar with it. Get even more stung. Realize the significance of that question. Oh, how can I not know something so significant? I might be looking at me when I see another person. What's the significance of having an enemy if you're looking at yourself? What's the significance of addressing our problems if we're all the same self? Get puzzled. You cannot make a racehorse without inflicting suffering on the animal. That's fucked. Of course you don't. Do you help a horse by making it suffer? Of course you don't. You cannot make a great horse without inflicting suffering. No. Any person who trains a horse will... Okay, think of something. Do you make your dog better by kicking it in the face? When you were learning math, were you helped to learn math better by being abused, or being told you were a bad student, or by being slapped in the head, or having your parents bombed by the Jewish army? Okay, so this is the difficulty with using examples like horse. I don't know if you know anything about raising horses. If you do, you'll know that no, you don't make a horse better by hurting it. That's stupid. So pick something you do know. Skateboarding. Do you make a skater better by punishing it for not doing an ollie? Or do you say, no, you can do it. Believe in yourself and all that. I do know. I see you're intentionally reading questions backwards, which is funny. No, I'm not. I'm saying you don't know anything about horses. So pick something you do know about. Skateboarding. Do you make a skater better? Math. If you're learning math, are you made better by when a child makes a mistake? Use that. You've done math before. When you were unable to balance the equation, 4 times x or 4 times y equals 8. When you were... Oh, get some spam. Why not? When you were unable to balance that equation, is it because you're a bad student who's an enemy and you must suffer? What does that teach you? Number one. Or is it that you failed to recognize a principle of understanding that you needed to apply to find the answer? Which of the two? The next stage is saying, oh, okay, so it doesn't help me learn anything, doesn't make me a better math student. What does it teach you? Are you ever going to ask the teacher a question if you know that if you make a mistake, he's going to punish you? Are you learning to avoid being caught? I think a lot of Asian parents do that. No, don't brush it off. You answer. If you didn't get the right answer, would you like to be beaten? Yes or no? Right, and if you got that wrong, would you like to be beaten? Would it help you learn to be beaten? Or does it create a suffering within your soul that takes away freedom and prevents you from finding the root cause of your mistake? Which of the two? Think about that. I'm a glutton for punishment, though. So this is important. This is the humanness. Okay, so the next thing we would say is, okay, so you're not actually learning to do math better if you're just being abused or tortured or raped or humiliated in your class. Although the people in charge, if they are sadistic believers who were raped or tortured themselves, will be looking for an opportunity to inflict it on others. That's Trump and the Epstein bullshit. Looking for people who they can say, we're punishing you for being a bad child. Just accept the abuse. That's sadism. That's Netanyahu. That's Trump. That's Hitler. That's human suffering. They use punishment to justify inflicting of violence to play out the sadistic role of their parents. That's human problems. The next thing we would say is, hang on a second, what does that teach you? It teaches you to not enjoy math, but to never get caught making a mistake, because these fuckheads are going to abuse you. Okay, so that's the dialectic on punishment. Punishment A doesn't help learning. B creates a suffering of the soul that prevents freedom from looking at the root causes, which is to remove mistakes. And C teaches you one thing and one thing only: avoid getting caught, or seek positions of power so you can be the bully and not the bullyee. That's the dialectic on punishment. And all this is from the book that we've been reading. The next thing is recognizing that as a human being, it's not simply enough to input the right answer. These things are in the book. They're always in the book. They're always going to be true. Punishment never is always the same. It's always just sadism and oppression justified by, there is some ignorance you can't overcome with learning. Dog nanny. So there's a dog whisperer called Cesar Millan. He's able to look at any bad dog and solve their problems because he has wisdom of how dogs work. He got so popular that the British made their own equivalent, the dog nanny. She was stupid. She couldn't solve dogs' problems, but she wanted to pretend she was the dog whisperer. So when she wasn't able to solve a dog's problem, she said, it's not my ignorance at being able to understand and facilitate learning, it's the dog's problem, and she murdered dogs. Dog nanny blamed people for her lack of wisdom. When really, hey, is wisdom so strong that there is so weak that there is some ignorances that can't be overcome with wisdom? Or, of course, no ignorance can stand the light of wisdom. That's the issue. Dog nanny versus dog whisperer. Now, while that's true, it's not going to work. We're not computers. You can't just input the right input and then have the right output like a computer. In other words, as you follow the stages of the dialectic or logos or reasoning, the person will hit a block. That's supposed to happen. If we could just follow truth and reach excellence without facing our blocks, we would be living in an unjust world, because we would be removing the condition for having to address our false beliefs that we were literally reincarnated into this world to address. After we die, we say, well, I was excellent. I reached an understanding that punishment is bad, and I was able to stop punishment on a global scale, and we created a harmonious world, and humanity never justified the oppression of violence of women or minorities or poor people. We had a utopia. And we all reached excellence. We all functioned as dialecticians. But there was never a reason to address my false beliefs. So why do I have to reincarnate to address my false beliefs again? I did my best. I ticked all the boxes. That would be an injustice in reality. Meaning, you are supposed to surface your problem as a gift to give you the conditions to address your false beliefs that you are here to address. You can't develop into complete union with beauty and bliss if you think you're a small bean, or a bad noodle, or a bad student, or a bad kid, or you're a sinner, or you're a heathen, or you suck because you can't do math, or you suck because you're a bad racehorse, or you suck because you're a woman or an immigrant. All of these things that result from punishment are fucked and prevent you from recognizing the nature of your soul is divine. In other words, The only way of unifying with beauty and bliss is to join with it. If you think you're ugly or not good enough or a glutton for punishment or any of that shit, you are going to reject the brilliant light of being we all experience when we die and have to reincarnate to deal with that ignorance. That's the source of reincarnation. You will find a family where you get that ignorance again, and you will play out the cruelty and sadism and the injustice again and again and again until you wake up and learn. For everyone, in principle, because you can't unify with a non-physical element if you're not the same as it. So what? So as you take your friend through this dialectic on punishment, as you repeat it, he will get mad at some point and say, fuck you, you're being insincere, you're not listening to me, you're reverse engineering or something like that. Because my parents punished me and they were saints. That's the issue. They will have a blind loyalty to their own parents or religion or king or clergy. Ultimately, it's their parents. If you're right in saying that punishment is always unjust, and my parents punished me, it would mean what? What would that do to your image of your parents as being the model of beauty and excellence? In other words, they are imitating the Enlightenment experience while lying to you. That's too much to see as a baby when you're dependent on them, but it's the truth. So, as you go through the logos, they're going to reject it at some point. You have to get them to reflect on when that came up, what it was like, how it blocked them, how does it feel, and then you can go through the most important activity we're all here to do, philosophical midwifery, to find why he's blindly loyal to his family clan beliefs instead of following the logos and learning about punishment being bad, or learning that you don't hurt people, you help people, or whatever the dialectic is, learning about the nature of reality or the self. So that's the art of the dialectic, and it's necessary. And a just world so you can address your problems, and because we're not computers. So, and even me saying this, so as I'm saying this, you won't get it. You will try and distract from me saying these things because I am pointing to the fact that your parents, your religion, your beliefs are also unjust and the cause of your suffering inflicted on yourself, on your partner, and on the world. You don't like it because you're a human being and not a computer. You will fight back. You will call me names. You will say understanding is stupid. You will call me a heathen, or a goyim, or a moil, or whatever the fuck, not moil, infidel, or whatever the fuck. Or you will just try and distract me. That's the counter-attack. While I'm explaining simply and clearly the meaning of life and what you need to do to see that reality is just and understandable, and you can solve your problems and be a good person to others, you can't have a more important conversation than this one. Your pathologos will come in and try and distract you. It's normal. It's to be expected. You have two choices. Become a zombie, mindless slave and play along with those thoughts that come in to distract you, or develop courage and character and say, you know what? Even though it feels like I should go off on this tangent, or I feel like I'm big and strong and tough by being a troll or whatever, that's bullshit. I'm learning the logos. I need to take notes about those thoughts and distractions and tangents so I can eventually find a pattern, which then I can take it back to a midwife, find its origin, and become free to be myself. Those are the two options. Become a mindless slave to your upbringing ignorance, or develop courage and character to find those blocks. Don't beat yourself up, because as we said, you don't make a racehorse or a skater or a chef or a mathematician better by punishing people, but only through understanding. So don't beat yourself up that you go on tangents, understand it, and that's what I've outlined on how to do that. It's true for you, it's true for everyone listening, it's true for everyone who's ever watched this channel, and true for anyone who will read this book that we're reading together. You're not sure that you're ensouled. Of course you're not sure. You're going to learn. And prove it. Understanding and direct experience. So, in developing an understanding of why necessarily you have to have a soul, and again, read the book. Socrates has the arguments, and of course you can read the Balboa translations of Plato. He goes through the arguments as to why a soul is necessary, but again, even though it's necessary and beautifully so, that's still an if. Your whole point is to experience it by experiencing the soul directly. It's not a belief, it's understanding that facilitates knowing. That's why it's also a spiritual tradition. And that's why true philosophy or Socratic philosophy is different from what you get at college. Should I spank your kids? Again, so that's the tangents. So as you talk about spanking, exactly rejecting the logos, you have two jobs. We've already gone through the dialectic on why making people suffer, A, doesn't help them learn, B, creates suffering and is sadistic, so the addiction to causing suffering is sadism and injustice, and C, only teaches them one thing, to avoid being punished. While we've seen this, you can choose to reject it. That's called being unjust, or being in a problem. Your job is to find why you rejected truth and understanding and logos and principles, to be loyal to the way that you were treated as a kid. That's it. That's the only game in town. Follow the logos to see why you get blocked and address it. That's it. That's the one thing we're here to do. And that's the one choice we can really make. Injustice or justice. Addressing the pathologos or being a blind, loyal slave to it. In other words, Judaic or Hellenic. And that's the game. Whoops. That's the game, and we went through it in chat, and our chatter has a choice now to ignore his tangents and distractions and reflect on what was said, and of course you can look at the VOD and go through it. VOD. I post these on YouTube as well. You can go through it on YouTube or on Twitch. You can join the Discord to find others in the game to make friends with and to share the ups and downs in their journey. But again, no one's going to do it for him. It's up to him to make that challenge, take that
I'm looking for someone to share in
call to adventure for the hero's journey. It'll be weird and it'll be scary, but again, there's only one game in town. Do you perfect the logos and address the pathologos, or do you become a mindless tyrant slave to your family upbringing? Or in the text, does your spirituality fortify your ignorance against change, or does it uplift you to the next phase in your spiritual path? Okay, let's read this. Does punishment really only force people to find ways of escaping being caught? The idea of sin needs to be looked at as well, because it really means missing the mark. If you miss the mark, you have to discover your fault and correct it. So that's the choice. Do you become a hero like Achilles, Odysseus, Penelope, Hercules, or Palamedes? If you don't, the mindless ones will follow any call to duty, and they will leave in their wake chaos and destruction. The ignorant follow the leader, and then blame him for whatever failures follow from his leadership. It keeps them from seeing their own crimes against the dignity of their fellow man, and that includes punishment. They plead that they are innocent and cry aloud that they are only doing their duty. The cry of doing one's duty blinds them from seeing themselves. We call this unleashing the tyranny of the mindless many. So as our chatter goes through the difficulty in making sense of everything he went through and everything that was said today, he will feel like what it takes. So this is important. You can't be a good dialectician or sage unless you've experienced how fucking difficult it is to play this game. You have to abandon all of your old ways of being and your clan loyalties and going to Jesus camp on Sundays or whatever you've been grown up in. It takes courage, and it's scary because that's why it takes courage. It takes openness and questions. It takes you stepping out of your old family circles and friend circles. But that's important because when he gets there, if he gets there, and he turns around to help others as a sage, he can recognize how hard it is. So he'll be kind and patient and say, hey, look, I'm not punishing you. This is just normal stuff. I'm also not going to let you get away with tangents. I'm not going to pretend you know more than me because I'm the sage here. But also, I'm going to, point out that it's not easy. It's the hardest thing you can do, but it's also the most meaningful thing you can do. It's literally why you're here. So that's part of it. In other words, Penelope had to see that Odysseus had gone through that himself before she would share her life and bed with him. Achilles had to go through it himself to be able to be a midwife of even the king of Troy. These are Palmades had to go through it to be able to turn others around. Socrates had to go through it. Pierre Grimes had to go through it. We all have to go through it as a necessary condition for being a sage ourselves and passing on the tradition to others, improving souls, and hopefully prevent human suffering and everyone love everybody philosophy. Sure. He who has no why to live can bear almost anyhow. And maybe that's more profound than I can understand, but yeah. Well, it does. I mean, go out and see it. As you share this with your friends, see how well they get on board. And see yourself how challenging it is. And that's the game. We are learning to be heroes and sages ourselves, to do our human purpose, to move from savages to sages. From mindless zombies to those in the true human race. So, I hope you had fun. We got to reread the chorus haters and the anti-haters, but we also thank our friend to join us in chat, and we got a chance to use or employ or nurture, practice the dialectics that we've been learning and the principles that we've been learning. And he, of course, gets to experience what it's like to go through it on the other side of it. And if he wants to join the Discord, he can share his experiences and so on and so on. You should join the alt-right. Yes, counterattack. So now he's did very, very well, and he has to throw in some abuse at the end because that's the counterattack. You can't go through the logos without experiencing the counterattack. You will, want to be a jerk, be a dickhead, because it's normal. It's not blame or punishment or anything like that. It's just normal. After victory comes the inevitable counterattack. With the victory comes a new self-image that is in stark contrast to the older image. The older has been crafted from pathologos and core beliefs. It is like a private and personal family clan religion. The power it possesses is immense and survives human death in the land of Hades. So that's the counterattack. It's normal and to be expected. Don't buy into it. Be mature and recognize it. And we also see that it's law of nature. Let's find nature. Maybe mind? There was another section. Let's look for counter. Oops. The inevitable counterattack. Oh, already read that one. Let me pause the recording. It was the same section. The point of departure will be a truth that extends to all living things that possess mind. Right, it was the sentence beforehand. So, a truth that extends to all living things, the counterattack. So, as you share this with your friends, even if they are able to go all the way, and even if they do recognize their blocks and tangents and they write them down and they have a success and you're saying goodbye, as you say coffee, they'll be like, shut, but you suck. But your dress was ugly. Your shoes didn't match your earrings. You fuck. Something like that. There needs to be some sort of counterattack. And it can manifest in all sorts of different ways. That's important because that's a basic principle of learning. There is a force of our beliefs that has sustained our beliefs through thousands of years of human ignorance and suffering. And you will experience yourself. Counterattack. Recognize it. We experience it in chat. Hopefully he's not going to take it personally or blame himself or punish himself, but he'll become curious. That's the game. Curiosity and wonder is our way out of the cave. Curiosity, wonder, as the state of mind to accompany those two qualities of being, self-reflection and logos. So, that's it. And, okay, he's saying Pikachu sucks. Well, that's obviously wrong. Pikachu is awesome. Counterattack. Yes, there you go. Very good. So, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us in chat. Thank you for sharing your thoughts honestly and having the courage to reflect on your highs and your lows. You get both as a human being, your logos and pathologos, your understanding and your beliefs. Thank you so much. Round of applause. Chaya. There we go. Good one. Very good. Again, difficult, but the most meaningful thing we can do. So, join the Discord, join the Twitch, join the YouTube. If you want to donate to the channel, that's greatly appreciated. There's a link below. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.